Oh,
All right, I see the broadcast is live. Look
we
out.
are live,
All
kids.
right.
Hopefully those of you guys that are tuning in right now are seeing
Yeah.
we're live.
Hopefully some start rolling in. All right, I see the broadcast is live.
There
Look
we
out.
are.
Hey, there we go.
I can hear myself even. It's great. All right. Hashtag White Sox because that's what that's what the kids do these days.
That's right. The hashtagging thing.
And all right, we are posted. Now let's just do the personal share. There we go. The Twittering. And
Yeah, let's get it out on the Bird app.
oh, crud. That Padron 1926 was excellent by the way. Really
good. Good.
I should tell you that story too, because I bought two. I bought one for me and I bought one for my friend who's leaving. And then my stupid friend, and he's great. He's not stupid, but he grabbed the wrong cigar. He grabbed some looked like a $5 cigar and cut it and started smoking it.
Okay.
And left the nice cigar sitting there. So my buddy Nate apparently asked him, "Hey," he's like, "Well, if you're not going to smoke that, can I smoke the cigarette or the cigar that Fidds brought you?" He's like, "Yeah, sure. It's $25 cigar." I'm like, "For you." And my buddy Nate, he was like, he'd smoke it and then he'd put it out and smoke it. But I'm like, "Oh man, you're just killing." But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. So all right,
No, Padron's a really good one.
it was very good.
The 1926.
I would love. I got the dark one, the darker whatever.
The Maduro.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I didn't even stop smoking it. It was great.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think we are ready. So if anybody's in the chat, I don't know. We got.
I don't see anyone, but
nobody's here because
they don't like us anymore. Oh well, they'll miss out.
Yeah, even Swo and Yumper. I mean, what's the deal here? All right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Need our fan club. Make him feel real guilty. So, all right, here we go. We are good to go. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, and we will start in 5, 4, 3.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's time for The Tainted Glove, starring your favorite man of questionable character, Aloha Mr. Hand.
Hey, bud, let's party.
And the Holy Reverend KFidds himself. It's go time, so grab a beer, grab a bite, and settle in. It's time for The Tainted Glove.
Aloha, and welcome to the June 27th edition of the Tainted Glove. I am one of your co-hosts, the notorious man of questionable character, Aloha Mr. Hand, and with me as always is my partner in crime, the one and only, the Holy Reverend KFidds himself. And Holy Reverend, you might need to give me some dispensation or something this week, because I got a lot of thoughts, and there's going to be a lot of profanity associated with them, so just warning you ahead, and with that, take it away.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It is Shmonday, also known as Shmonday, but we're back after a little time off. Pete was at the game last week, so we had special guest Lil Yumper on to join us. But now we have Pete back, ready to fire some volleys, if you will.
I'm not firing volleys; I'm firing missiles.
But he's got a couple scuds coming. We're not sure who's safe and who's not really at this point. But We're going to definitely go over to what might be considered rock bottom for the White Sox after losing 3 of 4 to the Baltimore Orioles. Talk a little
not only losing 3 of 4, but trying to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory yesterday and trying to make it a 4-game sweep for the Orioles.
Correct. So that'll be fun. We're going to also play a game we've played back in the past, but we're going to play it again tonight called Is Tony La Russa to blame? We're going to play that one for fun. We're going to enjoy that one. We're going to talk a little bit about Andrew Vaughn. We're going to talk about Steve Stone feuds, and then we'll jump to some Cubs stuff, obviously, here early on. We're actually going to start with the Cubs first, but we'll talk a little bit about the Cubs trade deadline, what's coming up, the fire sale that we know is going to be happening for at least the Cubs, but hopefully not the White Sox. Then no white flag sales there, but we'll talk about that. Talk a little bit about some of the Cubs, just kind of the yeses and nos when it comes to the trade. We're going to talk a little bit about I can't help it today. Chris Bryant's returning to the Rockies lineup against a former high school opponent, Tyler Anderson, who went to Spring Valley High School, which is where KB almost went to high school, but he came to Bonanza instead. And he's known Tyler since they were kids, I think. And his brother actually played with Tyler. So Tyler's the pitcher for the Dodgers tonight. KB returns to the Rockies lineup. But today, for some reason, some Cub fans woke up and chose violence. Today apparently was the day that they decided they were going to choose. I'm going to debate that Patrick Wisdom is more valuable than Chris Bryant today. So we'll talk a little bit about that argument and see what Pete thinks as well. I know you're not super high on Patrick Wisdom, so I feel like it's a loaded question for us. Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about our sister podcast, the Yumper and Swote the Show special event that they're going to be doing, a big charity fundraiser that they're throwing out here in a couple that they're going to be doing in about a month and some change. We'll talk the Obi-Wan series, talk a little bit of Elvis, talk a little Thor, Love and Thunder, and obviously we'll throw in some anecdotes, and obviously more than likely we'll talk about me puking at CrossFit on Friday night at some point. So all that and probably plenty more. So thanks for tuning in, but we'll get right down to it. Thanks for tuning in first off, and let's just jump right into the Cubs, Pete. I mean, the Cubs right now are coming off a 2-game, took 2 of 3 from the St. Louis Cardinals on the road in boring St. Louis. One would think everything is really, really wonderful in Cubs world, but really that's off the heels of losing 3 of 4 to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have the fourth worst record in the National League as they approach here next month's trade deadline. So the Cubs, inconsistent, of course, like Patrick Wisdom is, beating a good team twice on the road and then losing to a really, really bad team 3 times on the road.
Do you see a parallel this week?
A little bit. I mean, but the difference is you guys have talent. The Cubs don't. So as far as the White Sox are concerned, that's an apples and oranges conversation. Mm-hmm. One is a team built intentionally to lose, it sounds like, and one is a team that was not built intentionally to lose, but is not winning. So we'll get into that here first. But first, as the Cubs kind of the trade deadline is the end of next month. The Major League Draft is as well, so we're going to have a draft. We'll definitely do some draft talk coming in a couple weeks next week or next 2 weeks. 2 weeks when we come back. I think we'll be back in 2 weeks. Not 4th of July, so we're good there.
Right, we're not. Yeah, next Monday's 4th of July, so we will not be broadcasting on the holiday. Honestly, so we'll be back on what is the 11th? Is the following Monday?
Back on the 11th.
And at that point we'll know the All-Star teams, who's made it to the All-Star team, who hasn't made it to the All-Star team, and they'll probably be doing their vote, final person vote for it too. So we could talk about that as well.
And the MLB draft is on the 17th. So we will definitely do some draft talk in that episode, talking about draft needs for the White Sox, since that will be before we come back to air on the 25th as well. So that one will also pop in there. Last week on the show, talked a little bit about some of the studs coming up. I'm huge on the kid from Texas, and he just won the Golden Spikes Award right after last week's show. I mentioned, and he won Golden Spikes. So he's a freak. We'll talk about all that in a little bit. But with the Cubs, the trade deadline's on the way. So, there are a few players that the Cubs have that are sellable. There are a few players the Cubs have that were sellable that are no longer sellable. The Cubs, it sounds like, when they started the season here in 2022, went in with the Pittsburgh Pirates small market mentality, which means maybe sign 1 or 2 good players, which they signed Marcus Stroman, and they got Seiya Suzuki, which is a great move, but that was basically it. Nothing else. Minor league contracts, a bunch of backup defensive players, et cetera, et cetera. And really what the Cubs do is which is what the Pirates always do. The Pirates throw out a bunch of lawn darts. They throw out a bunch of minor league deals. If one or two pan out, trade them, flip them at the deadline, go back to crap, and keep selling these like possible panouts. Well, the Cubs seem to be following the small market mentality, even though they're worth $4.4 billion. And so we have the Cubs also signing a bunch of guys to minor league contracts that may hit, may miss. They missed Jed Hoyer, who I no longer really want to call Jed. I want to call him not Theo, has failed again, this time with his free agent acquisitions this offseason, just like he fails in the draft every single year, pretty much. You have a bunch of these players that didn't pan out. The only player from that group that has panned out is Robertson, the Cubs reliever. Mm-hmm. Robertson, I believe it's his first name. Oh, God, I always forget his name.
No, David Robertson is.
David Robertson.
Yeah, that's the only pickup that they've had that really
panned out.
Has been consequential. You could say that Seiya Suzuki did for the first month, but then the league adjusted to him. Then he got injured.
Yep, exactly. And so with that, I mean, Robertson, he's 2-0 at the bullpen with a 1.86 ERA, 26 games, 9 saves, 29 innings pitched, 39 Ks, 0.93 WHIP. That's a great tradable piece right there for a team looking for bullpen depth. Great. Then you got nothing. Marcus Stroman could have been tradable, but he hasn't pitched now in a month. He's been hurt, and he's been bad when he's really been mediocre, mostly bad, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And he had a couple good starts, but mostly bad, not tradable. And
you think he'd be willing to accept a trade to the White Sox?
But he doesn't have a no trade clause. He's got to take it. He's only got an opt-out. He's got
that would be fun.
An opt-out after 2 years. He doesn't have any trade flexibility whatsoever. He's traded, he goes, which is great for the Cubs. A lot of people thought that would happen. And had he have played and been healthy, had Jed have, invested in someone with health, they might have something worth trading, but they don't. So he's not tradable. So that leaves the Cubs to do what they did last year, which is cut out more integral pieces to the franchise. The only value that they have, if they're going to do this, which is Wilson Contreras, Kyle Hendricks, Ian Happ, and really, if you're digging into the trash pile, maybe a Patrick Wisdom, although his contract is so team friendly. I don't think that the Cubs would ever part with something like that because they're cheapskates. So you got a lot of things in here. So, Pete, when you're looking at this stuff, as an outsider looking in, and you've been through this, whereas Cub fans, it feels like it's been a long time. It's been 8-9 years since we've had to worry about the trash heap fire sales multiple seasons in a row. You're a little bit more fresh and familiar with it, with the White Sox being a 100-loss team only 3 years ago. So for you, was it 3 years ago? 2019, right? 100 losses?
No, 18. It was 100 losses.
19 was what, 98, 99? So
90, I think. I think they went 72 and 90 in 19.
So you're pretty close. You've been around this more recently. What are the things that you look at when you're looking at how much a trade deadline value, right? Because you think Robertson might have, we're going to get a first round for him. No, you're not. You're not.
No.
You're a first round pick for this guy. What are the expectations that you think fans should have with Robertson compared to, again, an elite catcher like Wilson Contreras or other, honestly, Ian Happ is the second best statistical left fielder in the National League right now. So better than Mookie Betts. So what do you think? What are the expectations for the returns do you think that Cubs fans should have when thinking about this year's trade deadline?
Well, there's two trains of thought on that. One train is that, and I want to focus this part specifically on Contreras, because Happ has another year of control. You took a flyer on David Robertson. So I really want to focus this on Contreras. Hmm. There's two trains of thought. One is to not even have him start the season because of the risk profile. Because if he gets hurt, you get nothing. Period. End of story. Whereas if you trade him mid-season, you might get lucky and some team may lose their catcher. Let's just say, I'll give an example, that JT Realmuto goes down for the Phillies. The Phillies might be willing to spend a little bit more to get a Contreras to plug into that lineup. But that's not a guarantee. If they would have traded him, which is what I think they should have done, they should have traded him in the offseason. That way the risk is gone. And I don't mean the risk of the person. I'm talking about the risk of the player, and the player performing badly, which He's been in a slump the last few weeks, or if he gets hurt. Let's just say he use Bryce Harper as an example. Harper's out, what, 6 to 8 weeks minimum with a broken thumb now? So let's just say Harper was on the block. You just lost all ability to trade him at the trade deadline. You've lost everything. He's there. Contreras is a catcher. Catcher is an incredibly difficult grind position. It's a wear and tear position, man. He could get hurt very easily. Hell, he could take a tipped ball off his hand. Oh, it's broken. Or off his shoulder. Or, one in the face mask. Oh, he's got a concussion. So keeping him to start the season, I thought was a very risky move. Now, granted, big risk, big reward. But big risk, big failure too. So I just think they should have traded him before the season started. I'll say that to begin with. Mm-hmm. Now, what do I think they could get for him? I don't think they could get that much. Because maybe 4 weeks ago they could have got more. Because you don't know, with the way he's been playing lately, you don't know if it's just a slump or if maybe he's got a little soreness someplace. Let's say the hammy isn't all there, or the back might be barking at him a little bit, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Remember, he's a catcher. It's a wear and tear position, man. It's not like, just not to pick on Ian Happ when I say that, it's not like a left fielder where, you're not involved in every pitch. The pitcher and the catcher are the only ones involved in every play. And I just think it was a terrible mistake not trading him either last year at the deadline or did they foolishly think that they were going to sign him in the offseason and he would be the centerpiece of your next core, if you will. Mm-hmm. Well, and with the way they've done things, I don't see how they could have thought that.
Well, I look at it, though, too, is if they trade him before the season starts, mm-hmm. You can't sell tickets. You can't sell the fake dream that they did this year, which is
the hope model. It's the hope model. The Cubs are working under the White Sox hope model. Hope these players, hope you get a career year out of Esteban Loaiza. Let's just throw a name from the past out there for the White Sox. Or let's say, Cliff Polite, all these guys from 2005 who you got career years from, oh yeah, maybe we'll get that. And I got plenty to say about the White Sox, but I'm just going to throw this in here right now because what the Cubs are doing looks like the White Sox model. To be completely honest with you, it reeks of the White Sox model. Get a bunch of guys on minor league contracts. Hopefully, somebody comes through and makes a difference. Mm-hmm. I think the Cubs, in all honesty, it's obvious they're not contending this year. It's obvious. Trade Robertson. Trade Contreras. Think about trading Hendricks. If you get the right offer, ship him out. Because I think Hendricks' best days are behind him. So if you could get anything for him, because by the time you get good again, I don't think Hendricks is going to be a consequential part of that team by the time they get good again.
Yeah, he'll be more like almost like Alec Mills almost to that point.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned these things. So and I personally think, when you're trading a catcher, you don't want to sell a catcher as a DH as well, because all of a sudden they lose their value. Because even the best hitting catcher, there are just so many better DH options in the game. Same with other positions. And so you're really selling a bat out of the catcher's position. Now, it's very blatantly obvious the Cubs are going to be trading Wilson Contreras just simply because the amount of time that he hasn't spent catching this season. He is catching a lot less. They've been using Gomez quite a bit more. It's almost 50-50, and you don't think, with the DH, it does give you that
Gomez?
Kind of,
you mean Gomes?
Gomes, excuse me.
Yeah.
And so
you've been listening to the Umper Son too much.
right. So you've got that going down too. And so when I look at the Cubs, I think obviously Wilson Contreras is going to have some value. You're not going to get a first round pick. You might get a former first round pick that's like 25, but do you want that? With Wilson Contreras, if the Cubs are really kind of building towards something, this quote unquote rebuild, if they're serious about winning now and next year, they're not going to trade Wilson Contreras, which tells me they're not serious about next year either. that means you're looking at the 2024 or 2025 season. So you're looking at somebody, if you're going to get something back for Wilson, last year they got a bunch of teenagers for Chris, for Rizzo, and for Javi. This year, you need to get more AA range players. Now, you need to move it up a year because
somebody who's a little closer, yes.
Someone closer and find that talent there, which at AA, obviously, it's a wealth of talent. That's where everyone's pooling their talent now. AAA is almost becoming a rehab assignment for old washed up guys holding onto the water wagon. So you've got to think of that way. So the Cubs should be asking for a very good AA player that can develop and has a higher ceiling. That's where you're going to probably go with this. And I've seen some extra trade proposals today from, I want to say it was, was it Bleacher Nation maybe? Or Hot Cut, maybe it was Hot Stove Cubbies. Maybe it was Hot Stove Cubbies. Yumper's got a couple accounts that he shares with me that makes me want to punch myself. But you look at this one, I think today was, oh no, that's not a good one. Oh, yuck. That one just actually makes me want to vomit. This was actually a pretty good one. This was a 3-team trade proposed with the Cubs, Yankees, and the Padres, which the Padres do have a need to shed that Hosmer contract. And the Cubs screwed that one up royally in the offseason. They could have traded, eaten the salary of Hosmer, and been able to take top prospects from the Padres to take that contract. And Jed just sat at his hands and picked his nose. Now Hosmer's had a pretty good season. And so his value goes up a little bit. So that might not be possible. But with this trade, this is what they went with. The Yankees get Contreras, Robertson, and Zavala. The Padres get Joey Gallo and Ian Happ. And the Cubs get Campusano, Hosmer, Merrill, Waldachuk, and Wood. And that's not a terrible deal for the Cubs. A couple of those guys are projectables.
Harrell is very projectable.
And so we'll see. We'll see where that goes. That was a decent throw out there. It's a 36th, 82nd, and 100 best prospect. And you get Merrill as well. So that's not a terrible thing. Gallo, a perfect fit for the Padres. He can play the outfield. He can also play first. Let's not forget that he's also can play first base. He's a righty, but he's got a good. He's a shortstop in high school, for God's sake.
And a Gold Glove outfielder. Let's give him credit for that.
He's got a cannon too, and you got Ian Happ out there as well. So Padres get better. Yankees get a catcher. I know they have two catchers they kind of love right now, but Contreras is an upgrade over both. So Robertson obviously solidifies their bullpen, and then they get the Zavala kid. So
Robertson goes back home to the Yankees where he started.
Of course, leave it to Cub fans. Garbage. You don't trade 3 best chips in one deal. Yeah, you do.
If you get the right price, you do.
We're at that point where Cub fans are thinking that their players they're overvaluing their own. And unfortunately, that's going to happen. So you've got all these guys. Rafael Ortega is also a guy that I'm looking at right now. He has really done well. He's an outfielder. He's got versatility. He is hitting, what is he now? I think he's up to 369 with a 359 on base percentage. He had 6 RBIs he had a game tying homer and 6 RBIs against Cardinals on Saturday. In the last 3 games, he's got 5 hits. He's playing pretty well. He hit 321 against righties last year, so that's a great number to showcase. Get a lefty bat that actually hits righties, so that actually righty lefty split works. So that's a good one. That's another trade piece that the Cubs may have. The Ian Happ one. Ian Happ is arbitration eligible. He's got a little bit left on his deal, but he's not going to be breaking the bank by any means. He's had a great season. His numbers are actually better than Mookie Betts before Mookie Betts went down last week. So he's actually been the second best left fielder in the National League this year. So you're getting some good stuff. So that's a big part of it too, is how much do again,
how much do you trust the Happ performance? Is this the outlier or is this who he is?
I think it's a little both. I've been hard on him a little bit, but he's had these ups and downs, but it feels like he's finally figured it out and is keeping himself very consistent now. He's been pretty consistent from both sides of the plate too as a switch hitter. Obviously he's a worse hitter from the right side, but he's still not terrible over there. And so, you look at these trades, you look at Happ, I just, again, with Cape, if what the Cubs got for Chris Bryant is a guy who is a 200 hitter, but basically Patrick Wisdom at AA, he's home run or nothing, or you get a guy that's a 25, 26-year-old right-hander that's supposed to be major league ready or near major league ready, which is what they got with Caleb Killian, who has come up to the Cubs. I think he's pitched twice or three times and he got lit.
Yeah.
It looks bad. Doesn't look ready. He's not been bad at other levels, but now he's looking to me like a number 3 or a number 4 in the rotation. So you really traded your MVP for a number 3 or number 4 in your rotation is basically what I'm getting at. I don't think Canario will be up. He is on the 40-man roster, but he's going to have to figure. You can't have 5 Patrick Wisdoms in a lineup and expect to win because you're only going to show up 25% of the time. You're going to have a 250 win percentage. That's not going to work. So guy needs to figure it out, get it better, or they're going to have to use him as trade for something else, trade bait for someone else. So the Chris Bryant trade to me is not a win. I feel like they I mean, yes, they traded Chris away and they're not re-signing Chris, but that's all. I think I lump it all into one. I lump it as the losing Chris and all of that as well. And, you know, the bridges have been burned. And so the media, yeah, you're right. Yump. The media carrying water to make the trade more palatable for ownership and carrying their water inadvertently ruined his trade market as well. Although he was going to the Dodgers along with Craig Kimbrell right before the Scherzer Turner deal. That was the move. It was going to be Crit. It was going to be KB and Kimbrell. So don't let people tell you that Jed was really nice and traded him to the White Sox, Kimbrell to the White Sox because he wanted to keep him near his daughter. That was horseshit. He was going to LA until the Scherzer move. So that was all bullshit. That was just
let me ask you.
I'll give them to you. Let's create a narrative out of this that's not true. But
let me ask you a question about that specific deal that didn't happen.
Uh-huh.
The Kimbrell Bryant to the Dodgers move. Why didn't that happen? Did Jed pull like a Jerry Krause and want a quote unquote sweetener? Like, you know, you know what I mean? It's like,
he waited too long. He let the Dodgers, because remember, Scherzer was going to the Padres.
That's right. He was.
Dodgers swooped in. So everything was going just fine for Jed, but Jed just got to the point where got called up, invited up for the nightcap. And in my opinion, instead of going him up and following up for the nightcap when he was invited upstairs by the beautiful young lady, he was texting on his phone or tweeting on his phone in his car. So I'll be right up. And by the time she got to the door, her ex-boyfriend was waiting there for him. Mm-hmm. And he closed the deal. That's basically what to me happened. She thought he was going to go out with somebody else, and he showed back up and said, "No, baby, I love you." And you're in your car, and the door was locked. By the time Jed tried to go up and knock on that door, she was already making noises. So that's what I look at it as, is Jed just fell asleep, didn't close the deal, and allowed the Padres to screw up that Scherzer deal, leading to that Turner-Scherzer deal that ended up becoming a pretty good deal for the Dodgers, you know, to help kind of push along, but they didn't win the World Series. But that's where I look at that. That's what Jed did with that one. So he was probably too busy practicing his word salad in his car. And so that's what happened. So that kind of fell through. So Jed, you know, so in these trade things, Pete Crow Armstrong, the guy the Cubs got for Javi, is on the DL right now. He's not playing. He's hurt. And I do like the guy that they got for Rizzo. The guy they got for Rizzo, Kevin Alcantara, is killing it. He's 6'6" beast, maybe even 6'7", depending on how, you know, what gravity is that day, or if it's cord cracked or whatever. But he's good. So that's solid pickup. But these are all teenagers still. So, you know, I look at what the Cubs have and what the Cubs need, and I see Jed. I hope, again, like you actually brought it up. I feel like you maybe waited too long to trade Wilson Contreras, and I've said this a month ago. Trade early before he gets hurt or he loses his value because he's going to hit that swoon. Crow Armstrong's back. Okay, I didn't see anybody reporting that, so that's good then.
No, I just think like Contreras, it's a ballsy move to keep him into the season. Because I wonder how much of that has to do with the lockout and everything else, too, to be completely honest.
Oh, man. Pete Crow Armstrong hit a walk-off grand slam last night?
Not bad.
That's not real. When will someone actually beat the Braves? Never mind. Let's see here. Where is it? What did he do? Did he play? I got to make sure. I got to double-check that one.
Yeah. But the point is, I mean, it was a confluence of events, and I think both teams in Chicago got caught flat-footed before the lockout started. Mm-hmm. Rick Hahn came out and admitted it, that they got caught flat-footed, that they didn't anticipate the market shaking out the way it did with all the free agents signing right before the lockout started. And I think that happened to the Cubs, too, because I think they were probably trying to position themselves to get a bigger return on Contreras before the lockout started. And it extended till, what was it, March 12th? Remember, someone told you it'd go in mid-March. So just remember that. And
And for Cubs, by the way, that were really loving Pete Crow Armstrong, just a reminder that in the month of June, he's hitting 174 in 46 plate appearances. He has hit what might be considered a little bit of a wall. And again, his injury was a hand. He got hit by a pitch, I believe. So it's not like he was hurt and then playing hurt. He was 0 for 11 or whatever before he got hurt. 0 for his past 11 before he got hurt. And now he's come back. He's 1 for 8 on his return. So he's, he upped his June average, I guess you could say, but his average, it dropped. I mean, he hit 3.4. I mean, right now his average for the season is 3.14, but when you really measure into it, he was hitting 3.75 at the end of April. He was hitting 3.40 at the end of May, and then in the month of June, he was called up to South Bend. And when he was called up to South Bend, which is high A, right? Am I going crazy? High A? No.
I believe it's high A.
Or is that double A? That's double A. No, high A. High A. Since he moved up to high A, he's hitting 174 at high A. These guys aren't a sure thing, I guess is the point. Mm-hmm. This is the guy the Cubs fans are like, dude, we got Pete Crow Armstrong. He'll be here any day now. Shut up. He's not. He's hitting 174 at high A. He's not even at double A yet. And he's struggling mightily. It's going to take time. Betting on teenagers is stupid. Okay. You bet on sure things, which is guys that are ready now. And that's the problem. But of course, Jed's failure to draft and develop players and talent during the window becomes their best players just to fix their broken farm system. So it's going to be a constantly robbing Peter to pay Paul if Jed can't learn how to fucking draft. Period.
Hey, sounds like the White Sox. But there's one thing I want to specifically call out about Theo and Jed's drafting philosophy. And that is they don't believe in drafting pitching. They figure they can buy pitching and they load up on position players. That's part of the reason why they have to go, in order to contend, they have to go into the luxury tax.
Yep.
Because of the cost of pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to understand that the Cubs will not be good, or I shouldn't say that. The Cubs will not be a serious league champion, World Series contender until they are in the luxury tax.
Mm-hmm.
Because of their feelings about pitching and buying pitching instead of drafting and developing pitching.
Yeah, and they have moved away from that. They drafted pitching this year with their first pick, passing on Colson Montgomery, which will always anger me forever. When Colson Montgomery is an all-star and an MVP, I'm going to think about they basically drafted a youth pastor in Jordan Wicks, who looks like basically he is Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Is what if you're going to compare him to a Spider-Man, he's the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the dorkiest of them all. He might be good, decent one day, but again, this is a college guy drafted, a college arm that at regular A has like a 5 ERA. What the hell? Again, Colson Montgomery has reached base like 36 straight times and has already been moved up to. Has he moved up to double A? Did he move to, or was it high A? He just got moved up to already, and he's raking there. So
I think he got moved up to high A.
High A,
and they're projecting he may hit double by the end of the season.
Very well, good. I mean, he's faster tracked than the guy the Cubs drafted last year. I threw a monumental meltdown on Twitter that day. Actually, I went back and even deleted some of those tweets the next day because I felt terrible because I was actually like unhinged when they drafted Jordan Wicks over Colson Montgomery. Now, Zoe was happy, but Zoe had heard me talk about Colson Montgomery the entire draft, and there were 2 guys that I really wanted. One guy went way early. There's no way he was going to fall to the Cubs. He came close. The Yankees, I think, snagged him. But my guy in that draft was Colson Montgomery, and then the Cubs passed on him for Jordan Wicks, and the White Sox snagged him. So I was like, fuck. So that's another part of it is the lack of development. So when you don't develop your own talent, you have to sell your real talent to get talent to develop. And now, can you develop this talent? I don't have much faith that the Cubs organization is going to develop this talent. Guess what? Chris Bryant came in ready. He was the minor league player of the year after being the college player of the year and was playing Major League Baseball within 3 years. 2 years. Sorry, he was drafted in 2013. He was with the Cubs in 2015. He was already fast-tracked. You knew it. There's nobody that you can look at. Jed Hoyer can't even tell you because he keeps using the word the next core. It's like Pavlov's dog. You say the next core and sub-Cub fan meatballs start drooling. Ooh, dinner time. And you're like, oh, great. And it's Pavlov's dog. It's his catchphrase. But the problem is, who is the next Cubs core? And if you don't know now, who your next
got-
core is,
You got 4 years at least, if that's the case. At least 4 years.
it should be immediately known who your 2-3 core guys are coming up.
Well, let me throw one name at you. Ed Howard.
Hurt out.
I know he's hurt now, but would you say he has the potential to be one of them?
Absolutely has potential.
Okay.
But shit in one hand and wish in another and see which one's first. That's all.
Yeah. Because everything you're describing, you're absolutely right. As a Sox fan, I've been through. I've seen it. I could give you therapy on it because I've lived it. I lived it more recently than you have. Everything you're saying is 100% spot on. It's basically where the difference between what the Cubs are doing right now and what the White Sox did in 2016, which they were actually doing in 2013, but we're not going to go there, is I give them credit. They came out and said, we're going to have to rebuild this and we're going to take a step back for a few years. I give them credit for that. Mm-hmm. The problem with that is, and Jed still hasn't said that yet. He has not acknowledged that yet, that this is not a 1-year thing. This is a 4 or 5 year undertaking. And to me, my personal opinion, the development part of it is the entire reason why. Mm-hmm. You're not developing your draft picks. You're drafting poorly. You're not developing your trade assets because they may have talent. You just don't know how to bring it out. Does all this sound familiar to you? Does it? Because
sounds eerily familiar.
Yes. And that's the problem. The thing, if you look at Jed, okay, Jed was with Theo in Boston, right? Then Jed took the Padre job. Do you remember the trade of consequence that Jed made in San Diego?
Though before the season started last year, he nosedived the whole thing by trading Yu Darvish.
No, I'm talking about when Jed was in San Diego, not with Singh.
You're talking about trading Rizzo to the Cubs?
Yep.
Or trade? No, he didn't actually make that trade. That was actually he came with the Cubs. They, I think it was McLeod did that.
Was it McLeod who made that? I thought it was Jed.
GM Rizzo trade. He was part of the trade that sent what's his name to
Adrian Gonzalez, as Yumper mentioned.
Correct, that one. Because
and here's a funny story.
Hoyer negotiated that trade. The Cubs sent Andrew Kashner and Kyung Min Ya to the Padres for Anthony Rizzo and Zach Cates.
Yeah. Here's a funny story about Adrian Gonzalez. The White Sox were in talks with the Padres about that. Do you know the name the Padres threw out that they wanted from the White Sox? Gordon Beckham. And the Sox said no. The Sox said no to Beckham versus Adrian Gonzalez.
All right. The Cubs let Kyle Schwarber walk for $0.
That's when they could have traded him when his trade value could have never been higher.
Yep.
At the beginning of that season.
Mm-hmm. After a really strong finish to 2019 and 20 as well. So
yeah.
It is. And now kind of jump into it actually, because of course my good buddy from high school, my former high school teammate, Justin Roman. I love you, Justin. You and I are never going to agree on this Chris Bryant, Patrick Wisdom crap. Okay. You could tell me all you want, Justin, that Patrick Wisdom is an upgrade over KB based on salary, cost, blah, blah, blah. And it's all wrong. Okay. And today, apparently, some on Cubs Twitter decided to go full meatball. And when KB returns tonight to the Rockies, they went meatball. So today it started this little debate. I'm going to say it was Bleacher Nation, who is they like to troll a little bit. Retweeted a post from someone that actually I had muted, so I had to unmute them to see what were they talking about. And it was someone, since Wisdom was called up, and it's the numbers, selective numbers, of course, because you just take that instead of just since he was called up. And the league didn't have any tape on a guy that was a 30-year-old rookie. Sure. But of course the league has 6 years of tape on KB. So that's the same, totally the same. Brought up their numbers. And so Patrick Wisdom since he's been called up, has played 175 games. Chris Bryant, who the Cubs put on like bubble wrap last year for an entire month before he was traded, 118 games. And he's obviously been banged up this year. He's returning tonight. Patrick Wisdom's had 653 plate appearances to KB's 479. Patrick Wisdom has, in the last 175 games, hit 42 homers and driven in 98 runs. That's really solid if you look at only stats and you don't look at the actual context, which is
how many strikeouts?
Well, he's 38% of his bats end in strikeout, and he's on pace to set the major league record this year for strikeouts in the season. He is also only hitting like 223 or whatever. And if you take over the last 100 games, which is a better sample size for me, he's hitting 220, and he's only hit like most of his home runs came in the first probably 75 games of his career.
Well, let me ask this question. If you want to compare apples to apples in this example, why didn't this person look at the first, what was the sample size, 170 games?
He went to the day that Patrick Wisdom was called up, and then how the players have fared since that date, which is so.
Why didn't you compare from the 170 days from the day Bryant was called up?
Most recent 175 games would be much more ethical, would that not be? But of course, when you're trying to argue that Patrick Wisdom is an upgrade, and that KB is injury prone and all that stuff, which he's not been super healthy. I mean, last year he had a broken hand the year, 2020. Yeah. Last year, and then last year he was a little bit just achy, a little bit. They shut him down. Okay, the Cubs treated him. It was weird. The Cubs pressured him to come back when they were winning, and then when it was trade time, put him on freaking bubble wrap and would play him like every third, which is not great for your body if you're a guy that's used to playing routinely. So all that stuff. This debate is insane to me because how could you? KB's first 5 seasons as a Cub are the best in Cubs history in the post dead ball era. So it's just such a weird. It's like there's a part of Cub fan base, the fan base that is that dude that he gets broken up with by a beautiful woman, and then spends the next year of their life talking about how ugly she was. Because it makes them feel better that they got dumped by an ugly woman when it wasn't really the case. She's Kate Beckinsale. She dumped you, but I'm going to say that I got, or you dumped someone because you thought it's better for your, in Cubs case, the Cubs fans got dumped because, front office and the ownership wanted to cut payroll. But, it's just this weird, need to minimize what KB did. Some guy today had the ball sack to say Chris Bryant Mark Pryor? What? What? Are you out of your gourd? What are you? He was all last year. And then it's all-stars, it's just a fan voting. No, the starters are fan voting. The manager, Dave Roberts, the World Series champion manager, along with 30 other managers or 15 other managers, came up with that roster. He was selected because he's one of the best players in the game in the National League. He wasn't voted in by anybody. It's so stupid. Cub fans, Sox fans, everybody has their percentage of stupid. Look, I'm going to say this flat out. The IQ, Cub fans have less baseball IQ than Sox fan. Argument needs to die. It's stupid. It's not real. There are more low IQ baseball IQ Cub fans than low IQ White Sox fans. But that's because there are more Cub fans. It's like saying there are more murders in Chicago than Texas. That's true. But Texas actually has a higher percentage of murders. They just have less people. Or whatever. So it's a weird comparison to do that crap. And it's just, but this was a moment where White Sox fans could really latch on to if they want to use that argument. What a moron to say that Chris Bryant is Mark Pryor.
I'm going to defend Mark Pryor in one respect.
Best Cavs other than
no, nothing with that. I honestly believe that Mark Pryor's career ended when he took that shot off his elbow from Brian Giles. He was never the same after that. Remember, he came back in 2006. I remember his first start. The Sox were on Sunday Night Baseball. He started at Wrigley against the Tigers that day, and they absolutely torched him. And I just remember, he gave up 4 or 5 home runs, and you could see he was done. And it's not that he took a line shot off his fucking pitching elbow, for God's sakes. It was a freak injury, but you know what? It was off his pitching elbow. So I'm going to, it's not. Dusty Baker overused both Pryor and Wood in 2003. Why Dusty Baker had Pryor out there running the bases when that collision. Oh, by the way, that collision happened. Also, I believe it was with Brian Giles. There's a theme here.
I mean,
You know?
I'm trying to pull up KB stats over the last 175 games. I don't know, where would I find that? Is there a way to do like a
Well,
advanced
you might be able to
game finder?
probably something like
I don't
that.
know. It'd be something I'd like to see. All games
But
combined.
like when he took that liner off his elbow, to me that was the end of Mark Pryor's career.
Mhm.
You know,
Show criteria.
coming off
Oh, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
golf course.
Oh, yeah, you're totally breaking up, Pete. Totally breaking up.
Bridges and
Uh-oh, I could not hear any of that. That was uh-oh. You're frozen. You there? You there? Uh-oh. All I got was it sounded like the machine from War Games.
all right.
Uh-oh.
Now,
Pop out, pop back, pop in, pop back. I'm trying to find this reference though. Now it's not letting me do it. Do I have to have an account with this thing to let it work? Because it's not share results. What are the results? It's not a result. There's no result. Show criteria, player choice is Chris Bryant. Last equal to 175 games. Get results. It's just interesting that this is not showing me no results. Oh God! All right. Well, I'm gonna give up. Anyway, trying to figure out what Chris's numbers were based on the last 175 games. There you go. Much better. Much better.
all right, good.
See you moving. So that's
Good.
The gist of it, though, is this debate is insane. And again, how can you judge any of this? Again, I can't judge if the Cubs won a trade or made a good move until 4 or 5 years from now. How are you going to know? I mean, are you going to say, "Oh, Cubs won the trade"? It was a great idea for the Cubs to trade Chris Bryant because he wasn't an All-Star in 2022 because he was out for a month and a half, but then he's an All-Star in 2023 and 24, maybe even an MVP a finalist in one of those years through 2025 and then 2026. Like how do you judge that now? You would have had this guy in your lineup. You can't judge how this trade went until it plays itself out. Not a single one of these players that they traded for is playing Major League Baseball right now. And that's not fair to judge it based on that either. Those guys come and play and they give meaningful innings with the Major League team. If they ever do, then you can do in 5 to 7 years, then you can judge whether or not this was a smart idea. I think debating whether or not this is a good idea today is something that only nearsighted individuals are going to do.
And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you a great example of that. The James Shields for Eric Johnson and Fernando Tatis Jr. trade.
Yep.
Because everyone was pissed that Eric Johnson was trade off. Anyone who says they knew Fernando Tatis Jr., A, who knew who he was, and B, knew that he would become what he became, is lying to you.
Mm-hmm.
Lying. You know why they're lying? Because the guy hardly ever played because he was always hurt. So, all these people, no, you're right. You need time to see how it shakes out. But there are exceptions to that. The Aroldis Chapman trade is an exception to that. Do you know why?
Because it worked. They won a World Series.
Exactly.
The only reason it was a good trade. If they didn't win a World Series,
exactly.
And it almost wasn't a good trade.
Right.
That close, but it was. So Gleyber Torres, it's fine. It sucks. He's having a good year, but it's not. It was a worthwhile trade. That's what you do. But that's why you have talent available. And so that's just it. Sucks. I hate this debate though. I can't believe, and I'm an idiot. I am such an idiot. I know I am. And Yumper yells at me. You should yell at me. Zoe yells at me from the Pinwheels, and Aldo on Pinwheels and Ivy as well. I should just stop engaging with these morons.
Mm-hmm.
Stop, because it's bad for my blood pressure. Because guess what? Then, like Tuesday night when I was hanging out with Mike Bryant at the game, watching Chris on his rehab assignment, I get Mike all worked up, and then he starts cussing in front of like 7-year-old kids to get his autograph and say hi to him because they know who he is. He's really well known around the community as a good hitting coach here in town. So then I get Mike all up, and Susie, poor God bless Susie Bryant, Chris's mom. she looks at me and she's just like, Fiddler, God dang it. Like, now I got to go home with this. Because it was warm outside. So, like, it's just a bad combo. And I did. All I had to mention was that penis cap. And boom. Because Jesse Rogers had just called him like a day before, just checking in and apologizing actually for a couple things, apparently. So,
who did he call?
Mike.
Chris? Mike.
Mike specifically about some sort of like I don't know what kind of apology it was, but I told Mike, hey, we call him a rock eater. Here we go. So like stat head. So let's look at this. Over the last 175 games, I found Yumper. Thank you, my man. Over the last 75 games, it looks like. There we go. I think we get up to 100. KB 266 batting average. Wisdom 231 batting average. OPS KB 817. Wisdom's 805. Total bases, Wisdom has more because he's, whatever, but KB's been hit by more pitches, grounded to less double plays, has a higher OPS plus, has more walks, more stolen bases, less RBIs, but we saw that KB was hitting second last year. He had less RBI chances, nobody in front of him because he was there. KB has 25 homers to Wisdom's 42, but I take this on base percentage that's 40, 50 points higher. Give me a guy that gets on base, please. KB has 30, 40 more hits, 8 or 9 more doubles, more triples. It's just, where Patrick Wisdom gets KB is on the home runs. That's it. He's a beer league softball stats. Now, he's good defensively. I have no problem with that. When we talk about WAR, offensive WAR matters most to me. KB's offensive WAR is 3.8 compared to Wisdom's 3.1. Defensive WAR is where KB loses because he's a negative 1.1 defensive WAR because he's been playing around the entire diamond. Okay? But all of the other numbers, when you take away defense, KB is considerably higher value. More almost a whole run per game when it comes to that. And so it's a problem. Like, again, take away the defense. Everything else, KB's runs created are higher. I think like 10 or 15 higher. So really you could just pick and choose. Again, that's what people want to do is. And also some of those games include his postseason where he was 8 for 18 in the 2021 postseason. Hey, weird. Didn't Cub fans say KB doesn't play in the postseason? He had 471 in his 5 playoff games last year with the Giants. So suck that one. Put that one in your pipe and smoke it there, Chico. That's another problem that I have. So guess how many hits Patrick Wisdom has in the postseason? None, because he's only playing on dead-to-the-neck ball clubs because that's what guys like him do. They play on bad teams because they're...
That's why they're 30-year-old rookies.
Mm-hmm. So
there's a reason he's a 30-year-old rookie.
God, I'm so glad you posted that. Gave me that because I forgot that last year he almost hit 500. He had a 1.147 OPS in the playoffs last year. KB doesn't hit in the playoffs, except for right. So there's your narrative. Perception versus reality. Cub fans will continue to maintain Chris Bryant doesn't perform in the postseason when he was the Giants' best player against the Dodgers in the postseason last year. So, okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox, but you guys need to tell me to stay. Those of you that are listening to it, you see me on Twitter and you see me start engaging with someone about Chris, tell me, jump on there and just say, Fiddler, stop. Post the Michael Jordan GIF. Stop. Get some help. I need to stop doing it. So, with that in mind, we're going to make a transition now over here. Speaking of losing our cool, real quick before we jump into that, I do want to, while I got you guys here, we want to plug Yumper and Swo, our sister podcast, is doing a really great fundraiser for their, me and Pete called it Under the Stars. I don't know what they're actually calling it, but they are actually putting together a really great fundraiser. So stick around after the White Sox stuff. We're going to give you a little bit more information about that. We're going to tell you a little bit about it so you guys can know, but don't go anywhere, which means we're going to keep you around. Really cool fundraiser that they're doing, especially for those of you that were very upset with some recent events over the last week or so coming down from our United States Supreme Court. So stick around for that. But for now, speaking of people getting pissed off and people that are engaged in some anger, the White Sox are coming off winning 2 of 3 to the Toronto Blue Jays, playoff teams. They're 16-19 against playoff teams. Things are looking good. They're back, baby, even though they're not 100%. Let's go. And then they lose 3 or 4 to the Baltimore Orioles, who actually have as good or the similar record as the White Sox do. They're actually not as bad as they were when they started. They're actually almost 500, which is interesting to me because they're in that AL East, which is a beast. So they lose 3 or 4 to the Orioles. It's embarrassing. all the people that have quit on the White Sox 7 or 8 times quit again. So 9 or 10 now times they've quit on the White Sox this season. I'm done. I'm not watching. Yet they keep posting. And we'll talk about that little thing in a second. So it feels like this one is a legitimate rock bottom for the White Sox because they really couldn't stop tripping over their own dick this weekend in this series. So, Pete, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Is this rock bottom, and what the heck is wrong with my pick to win the World Series, your hope to win the World Series? What is your thoughts? Is this rock bottom, and what the hell is wrong with the White Sox? Oh, I lost you. Did you hear me ask that question? Because it's just frozen, Pete. Uh-oh. I'm gonna answer for Pete. Pete is let me see if I'm gonna kick. Come on back in. Okay, I'm gonna kick and then he should come back in. So we a little bit of technical difficulties, but I'll make sure I get back to that. But yeah, so the White Sox lost 3 of 4 to the Orioles. And I'm going to say this right now. Let's go ahead and while we're waiting for Pete, when Pete pops back in, we'll go back to him. But I'm going to just type in a little Twitter search, and then I'm going to go ahead and just type in White Sox and see what comes up on the delicious feed about the White Sox while we wait for Pete to rejoin us. We're going to get some Twitter takes. Let's see here. Okay, they play the Angels tonight, right? Or tomorrow. They're getting back with the Angels. So it is a weird season according to some statistical anomalies, but they're plus 124 with a they're what plus 124 to win to beat 4 tomorrow night, or is that tonight? I can't remember. Shit, it's always blacked out here in Vegas anyway. But oh no, they're in the Angels tonight. They're playing tonight. Are they playing tonight? I guess they're playing tonight. Okay, so there's a picture. So let's kick some ass, losers, White Sox. Okay, so that's nice. You got I don't see a lot of mail. There he is. Pete's back with us. Well, it's disconnected again. What in the world is going on? So let's see some of our hot tweets. I'm going to type in White Sox. Done. There we go. Let's see here. Who are some usual suspects? I'm only a super casual baseball fans, and the White Sox haven't fired their manager. I hate this time of year for sports. That's pretty easy. That's nothing bad. All right. These are some actually really nice posts about the kid that they honored. One of the most difficult things to accomplish that Tony has done as a White Sox manager is get his most talented position player, Luis Robert, to play as poorly as Luis can play, including acting like he does not really give a crap about this or that at bat or about fly balls hit his way. I didn't really see that. He's playing actually pretty decent lately. Disconnected Aloha is with us now, so I'm going to go ahead and kick again. And come on back. But we got that one. So we got tonight's lineup. No, that's yesterday's lineup. Not done with the White Sox. I cut the cord 3+ years ago, but I signed back up to watch the Sox. What a waste of money. Do something. Try a new trading staff first, then manager if need be. That was interesting. Pete, you there still or no?
I hope so.
I got some audio at least.
I'm on my phone, so
okay.
For some reason, my internet's not working, so I'm calling in through my phone.
Okay, I was just been going over some White Sox tweets over the last couple of days, and so I'm just kind of reading some of the doozies. I'm trying to scroll through and find a few that might be, because again, like we've talked about on here, there's so many White Sox fans that quit on the White Sox. They've quit on the White Sox 5 or 6 times already, just in 2020. Oh, yeah. Always the knee-jerk reaction, always upset, always. I mean, I have a couple of them on notifications at this point because it's entertaining for me because I'm now screenshotting every time they quit. One Sox fan who will remain nameless at this point is going to get a huge montage by the end of the season of how many times they've quit on the White Sox this season. Good buddy of mine, to death, but I'm going to go ahead and rock his world, especially when the White Sox hit that second half schedule, which is the easiest schedule in the American League. So for you, we need you to have internet, not my Sox Summers internet. So we've got you here. Yeah. The question that I asked you before we kind of lost a little connection is this rock bottom for the White Sox, and what the heck is wrong with them?
I hate to say this. I don't think this is rock bottom, to be completely honest with you. I do not think this is rock bottom. Where I think rock bottom is coming is the week before the All-Star break, because they have 2 series upcoming against Minnesota. Now, that could be the make or break point for them. It's not looking good because there are so many different factors at work here that it's sad and pathetic. Some of them, and let me start by saying this. All those people who want to fire Tony La Russa, fine, fire him. It doesn't solve the problems this team has. I got into a discussion with one person who was ranting at me about how come Lurie Garcia is playing so much. Well, where's Yoan Moncada? Danny Mendick's gone. What do you expect? You have to play with the guys who got you have to play with the guys that you have on your bench. Now, Tony La Russa will not be fired. And here is my cynical reason why. Because Tony La Russa, the lightning rod that he is, provides great cover for Rick Hahn. So Rick Hahn will leave him out there to take all the heat while thinking he's being shielded from it. This failure, the way this team is playing right now, this failure is entirely an organizational failure. It goes beyond It goes beyond Tony La Russa. It involves Rick Hahn. It involves Kenny Williams. Now, for those of you who are going to give me they didn't spend money in the offseason. Yes, they did. They spent $50 million. Almost all of it went to the bullpen. Why didn't they address right field, which has been a black hole and a need for a freaking decade? A decade. They've needed a right fielder. And you know what's funny? I'll go back to it because it deserves to never be forgotten. The left-handed power bat right fielder that they've been drooling over for a decade was available. But Satan was his agent. So of course you didn't go talk to Bryce Harper because Satan was his agent. You were never going to sign him. Oh my God, we have to deal with Scott Boras. Scott Boras is going to screw us over. Yes, do you know why Scott Boras is going to screw you over? Because you're trying to screw Scott Boras and his client over by thinking you're smarter than them and trying to give a lowball deal. Oh, is that Manny Machado that applied to? Here's a Sox math lesson. $300 million guaranteed is more than $250 million guaranteed. And anyone who will sit there and tell you that the Sox had a better offer doesn't understand the first thing about risk mitigation. Do you know why? Because it's a simple formula. It's a simple mathematic formula. No one will risk $50 million guaranteed only to make $20 million more. Now, if you flip that formula and risk $20 million more to make possibly $50 million more, especially with incentives that you don't personally control. You don't write the lineup, so there's no guarantee you'll get in the lineup. Look at Dallas Keuchel. He had an incentive on his contract. If he pitched 160 innings, what happened to him? He got released so that they don't have to pay that $20-some-odd million next year. So quit using Sox math front office because it's why everyone's wise to your game. A $50 million risk to make $20 million more just isn't going to work. No one on Wall Street or in business would do that. I've worked with guys on Wall Street. They would laugh you out of the office with that. Now, if it was risk 20 to make 50, they'd consider it. Second, you have no one in the minor leagues. This has been a problem for years. You sit there and you talk about, oh, we're in this competitive window, yet you don't have backups because guess what? Like it, don't like it, you have an injury-prone lineup. How many IL stints has Eloy been on? How many has Moncada been on? TA is good for at least one every year. You did not fortify this roster with reinforcements that were sorely needed, knowing the way your players are. Third, fundamentals. My God, the fundamentals for this organization are appalling. How many times have you seen guys run into each other on a simple fly ball? A simple fly ball. How did Danny Mendick get hurt? They ran into each other on what? a fly ball. My God. Does anybody understand the concept of, hey, I got it? Okay, everyone else, when I scream I got it, you back off. But no, that doesn't seem to apply here. Either A, they don't understand that concept, or B, they need hearing aids. Either way, it's a failure on your organizational part to understand what these players need. Next, base running. TA, love the guy. 2 days in a row got picked off first base because he overran the bag. Come on. Come on. I understand being aggressive, but stop at some point. Know the situation. Know who you're facing. Another thing that they do that drives me nuts is you'll have whoever's pitching out there. I'll just use Giolito as an example since he's today's starting pitcher. You have Giolito out there who goes and throws 25, 30 pitches an inning. What do? Oh, 7 pitches, we're walking back out to the field. Giolito's got to go back out there. Take a couple pitches, for Christ's sake, just to give the guy a blow. For God's sake, use your fucking heads. These problems, yes, you could say they are Tony's problems, but these problems are evidence of a much wider, larger, and uglier institutional rot in this organization. And one more thing I'm going to add. When I was on the Score a couple weeks ago, and I said they needed to bring someone in and look at everything, and bring an outsider in and look at everything, I did not mean as the manager, as some people took it. I meant someone above Kenny Williams, someone above Rick Hahn, to take a look at the way this organization runs, because it is an abject failure from top to bottom. Players go in there. Look how many players have left the organization and all of a sudden become much better when they go to a different organization. And they talk about how that they have more at their more things available to them, more information, more facilities, more everything available to them. Alex Call, who went to the Indians, raved about the Indians having so much more data available to him. This guy never made it to the majors, but he raved about that. Other players have raved about it. I mean, good God, this is not the 1980s anymore. You need to get in the 21st century. I thought you were doing that when you hired Tony La Russa. I thought maybe they're bringing in a guy who's won. Like him, don't like him. You cannot deny his record. Okay? His off the field stuff, if you have a problem with that, absolutely you're right. I don't condone drunk driving, so don't anyone think I'm saying that it's fine. I'm not. But at the same time, I thought maybe they're bringing this guy in so that he can instill a winning culture in this organization. That was my hope. And some people will say, oh, well, they should have brought in A.J. Hinch. How's that A.J. Hinch experiment in Detroit looking? And yes, you can argue about the rosters and everything else. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. But let me ask you a question about A.J. Hinch. For a guy who was so respected, and I'm using air quotes when I say respected, in that Houston clubhouse, if you read the report, he talked about he smashed a couple of monitors that they were using in their dark arts plan. Those monitors were replaced the next day. So if they had that much respect for him, why were there new monitors there the next day? And also, if he felt that strongly against it, why didn't he do more? So don't sit there and tell me A.J. Hinch was the end-all, be-all. He was not. So that's all I got. I mean, I could keep going, but what's the point? I mean, you get the hint. The problems with this organization are much larger. Unfortunately, this season has exposed them all, in my opinion. Tony has helped expose them all inadvertently in some respects. But I ask the fans one thing, and I say this in all honesty. I ask you one thing and one thing only. If you hate Tony with a passion, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you should or shouldn't. But look larger picture. All of this is not it. Firing Tony is not the magic elixir that cures all problems. Look bigger picture. That's all that I ask.
Okay. And there you have it. He is slaying some truth. In the dark, though, it's like disconnected.
Yes.
Is those of you that are listening,
Yeah.
You might notice the audio is a little different, but not super different. Sounds great though, no problems. Oh, You could actually use your camera phone if you wanted to.
Well, I'm trying to, and it's like not coming in for some reason.
You're in the dark.
You know? I'm in the dark. I don't know why. I'm gonna have to file a complaint with Zvo about my phone here.
Yeah. I would blame the Apple guy. I'm a big Apple guy. So.
Yes.
It's funny you bring it up too. They're in the organizational issues. There's also some stuff that's been happening over. We're gonna play a game here in a second because again, you just said it's not all Tony La Russa's fault. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Let's be honest. Let's be real. We're gonna be in the trust tree with all the branches, whatever the fuck it's called. White Sox fans know the truth that when we look at life and we look at what goes on in the world today, that most of what happens to us is Tony La Russa's fault. So, with that said, we're going to implement and we do this on occasion. We did this a while back. We're going to do it again today. We're going to do a fun little game called "Is Tony La Russa to Blame?" And so, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start it off. So let's just describe the game. We're going to play.
Hey, I got my internet back. So.
Oh, very nice.
I'm going to try and enter the studio again.
Is Tony La Russa to blame? We're going to look at all the different things that Tony La Russa is responsible for in the world today. And so Aloha is now back to live camera as well. So here we go as we start round 1 of Is Tony La Russa to Blame? Today, I saw on the news that weed users are nearly 25% more likely to need emergency care and hospitalization. Apparently, it doesn't really say why they go to the hospital, but physical bodily injury was the leading cause of emergency department visits and hospitalizations among cannabis users. So apparently, you smoke weed, you bump into things, and you end up with the ER. You cut your hand doing dishes like Jose Quintana. So, is this new trend emerging with marijuana being 25% more likely to send you to the emergency room? Is it or is it not Tony La Russa to blame?
Of course, Tony La Russa is to blame.
What makes him?
Of course he is, because he's the one who laced the marijuana. Come on.
That's it.
He's the one who laced the marijuana. He's the one who did it. It's all his fault. Everything's his fault.
Excellent. Okay. Your turn.
So, yes, now, is this Tony La Russa's fault? I recently read that the band ABBA is reuniting for a concert tour. Is this Tony La Russa's fault?
I'm going to say no, because Tony La Russa is so bad that he doesn't even listen to ABBA. In fact, he would start Nickelback at second before he started ABBA in the outfield. All right.
Hey, now don't be dissing with my Sox summer, man. Don't be dissing with him.
All right. So next up is Tony La Russa's. Let's see here. I don't want to. That one's a little too dark. I'm not. 740 flights were canceled Monday after a chaotic travel weekend. Is Tony La Russa to blame?
This is a tough one, and I'm going to have to think about this for a second. Yes, I do believe he was blamed, because he probably got so liquored up on the airplane that they had to pull it off someplace and shut down the sky in order for them to find their way to land someplace. So yes, I believe it was.
Oh, that's a really great reason. That's a good one. What else might he or might he not be to blame for?
Oh, let's see now. I'm trying to go with some world events, and there's a very obvious one, but we're not going there because that one's going to stir all kinds of shit. So, is it Tony La Russa's fault that the Chicago Cubs have the highest ticket prices in MLB?
Yes, because of all the damage he did in the mid 2000 to 2010s with those Cardinal teams that embarrassed the Cubs on a regular basis, whilst winning multiple World Series with the boring team that is basically Illinois' armpit in St. Louis. So that is definitely Tony La Russa's fault. I fault him. That's definitely, I would give him total, it's his blame. He's to blame 100%. The Cubs wouldn't have to charge heavy ticket prices if he wouldn't have beaten our teeth in most of that decade.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah, he did do that. That's true.
Okay. Let's look at, yes. Over the weekend, the new release, Buzz Lightyear, was outdrawn by Tom Cruise's Maverick, which has just recently crossed the $1 billion in revenue club in the process. Now, Buzz Lightyear got great reviews, yet still isn't selling tickets. Is Tony La Russa to blame for Buzz Lightyear's box office failures? Uh-oh. You got muted. So we're just listening to that song.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. Oh, lost you again.
It says you muted me. Hey, knock it off.
I was trying to unmute you. You said I couldn't unmute.
Okay.
So, is he to blame for the box office failure of Buzz Lightyear?
I say yes. And because one, he did not give it a positive review, because we know as Tony goes, the box office goes. And two, we know that the true Captain America is Tim Anderson, and the true Buzz Lightyear is probably Yoan Moncada, because he's probably higher than Buzz Lightyear was in space.
Ooh, that's very good. I also know that Tony La Russa gave a wonderful review to Encanto.
Yes, he did.
He also said that Atomic Tacos or Apache Tacos.
Antique Tacos.
Tacos.
Yes, that's his after game stop for Veggie Tacos.
Every
his
single
Antique Taco. And then he basically says, he straps on his gun belt and says, "Evil dies tonight."
Yep. At home, whilst
Yes.
watching Encanto. No, that's for Yumper. Well,
So
one more. Give me one more.
One more.
Give me
All
one
right. Let's see. Is Tony La Russa responsible for the high gas prices that we currently are suffering from, and also the inflationary era that we are in?
I'm going to definitely say yes. Tony La Russa is to blame for inflation and gas prices. You remember, Tony La Russa is a lawyer. He's a lawyer. Did you know he's a lawyer? People said
Yes.
that. He's a lawyer.
Yes.
And
He actually received his degree on the field at Old Comiskey Park and was interviewed by Jimmy Pearsall right after he received it.
it wasn't from University of Phoenix either.
Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State. Oh, well, I mean, that, a little bit better than University. Sorry about that. So, but why is he to blame? I mean, obviously we know that the hair grease in a pandemic that Tony La Russa goes through when he slicks that shit back and gets ready for a night on the town with his big butterfly collar shirt buttoned down to his belly button, and he throws on those jeans, tucking in that shirt.
And the moosed up chest hair.
Absolutely. Throws on those white patent leather shoes a la Cousin Eddie and heads out to the nightlife to go enjoy. That takes a lot of crude oil and a lot of natural resources, because, again, the only way that he blow dries his hair is he actually uses a fan and a flamethrower to keep that. That's how he heats up his hair
Oh,
dryers.
so you're saying he's also responsible for global warming too?
Absolutely. I mean, it really does tie into it. The fact that Lake Mead right now is drying up here in Las Vegas, it can be attributed to Tony La Russa's use of product, hair product, chest product, armpit product, under knee product in the back of your legs where you sweat a lot. He's a lot of deodorant back there for some reason. All of that is a result of Tony La Russa. And that, of course, then has a ripple effect, the butterfly effect, that hits the foreign markets, and then the OPEC has to cut back on production because that damn Tony La Russa is utilizing way too much. He'd given them advice back last year, or in 2020, like in May of 2020, he told OPEC, "You guys should probably cut back on the barrels of production. It'll be good for the world if you cut back on your production." He gave them that advice along with some other guy, and they listened. All of a sudden, gas pricing. So that all creates, of course, what we have here today. Tony La Russa is also responsible for everything that's been happening with the interest rate and the Federal Reserve. So I 100% blame him and the creature from Jekyll Island. So yeah,
I'm with you.
Good. All right. So now that we've kind of blamed everything on Tony La Russa, I hope you guys tune in next time when we blame Tony La Russa, because let's be honest, pretty much everything's his fault, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, according to White Sox Twitter, everything's his fault. Well, no, I take that back. About 75% of it is his fault, and the rest is Steve Stone's fault.
Great segue. Before we segue into that, make sure you guys send us everything that you think Tony La Russa is responsible for, or ask us, is he to blame? And we'll give you our response and our answer on maybe the next. So with that said, you bring it up greatly. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the It's Always Sunny soundtrack so we can talk a little bit about the next little segue, which is something that you brought up, which is part of the unhinged White Sox Twitter experience as well, which is all of a sudden one of the most likable broadcasters in broadcast history, a guy that's certainly going to be in the Broadcast Hall of Fame someday, both a Chicago Cubs broadcaster along with Uncle Harry Carey, and then moving over to the White Sox, and Skip Carey and Chip Carey and how many other Carries, I don't even know. And so they moved over to the White Sox, left because he didn't see eye to eye with some of the people in the upper management of the Cubs, and kind of
or in the dugout.
He probably could have done it better at the time. And so now he's over the White Sox. So he's really well. I mean, to me, I'll tell you, I probably learned 70% of what I know about the game of baseball listening to Steve Stone as a kid growing up with him explaining the game. He's fantastic. He's one of the best baseball players alive. With that said, bad season. Everybody's suspect. He started with him saying, "Hey, enjoy the ride. Enjoy this." And then it's now transcended down into open attacks on Steve Stone by the younger generation. Younger generation yelling at the old guy. And I don't feel like it's old guy yelling at the cloud. Literally, Steve Stone, all he's saying is, if you're not enjoying this, stop watching.
Yes.
It's bad for your mental health. Stop. I agree with him. I mean, some people might need to take they need this all-star break worse than the White Sox because they are unhinged over a baseball team.
Yes.
I mean, last year was the most stressed I've ever been when it came down to the Cubs, and it had nothing to do with the Cubs. It had everything to do with a player that I coached and have known for almost 20 years. It had nothing to do with the Cubs and me coming unhinged because the Cubs lost. I don't let it affect my mental health that much. This happens with someone that I care about, like in reality. And that was very different. Whereas a lot of these Sox fans, beat down from the ledge. But Steve Stone has just started saying, "Hey, enjoy the ride." Or now the most recent one was, "If you're not having fun, don't. You don't have to watch. It's the elective pain. You're doing it to yourself. Come back when they're hot." He's not telling them to quit the White Sox. He was just saying, "Hey, take a time out."
Yep.
And so for him, the responses were something. White Sox Twitter, the younger contingent came for Steve Stone.
Yes.
What do you think about all that? What is your thought on that, and what's your experience watching, and what have you seen?
To your point, a lot of it, you make mention that it's the younger generation. I disagree. It is across the board. There's a large contingent of it that is the younger generation, and sometimes I think he gets a little carried away with it. But the overriding message that he has is, "Hey, if you don't enjoy it, don't watch, don't partake." That lesson applies to anything in life. If you don't like your job, what do? You try and find another one. If you don't like who you're dating or married to, what do? You break up. That's it. Why live life and be miserable? If they make you that miserable, detach yourself from it, because life's too short to be miserable. That's all there is to it.
He's so good at his Twitter. This is just him tweeting off the top of his head. This is what got everybody mad. Said we see we've hit a nexus. I call it thinning out the herd. For those of you looking for the exits, adios. For those of you who want the coaches fired, the manager gone, the players traded, and the owner replaced, that's not practical, which is reality and truth. Welcome to a less bitter world. All others, which is saying if you're not in that group, hi. If everyone's gone, that group is just on their own. It's not nearly as difficult to kind of like stomach. And then you jump into some of the other stuff. I don't disagree with anything you wrote there, to be honest. But then the next tweet is, it's a beautiful Sunday. Summer is upon us. If you have a dog or cat, spend some time communicating with them and your day will be brighter. Spend time with your family or call a friend who might want to hear from you. Eat a nice meal and reflect on the week. Stay calm, my friends. Like, he's being calm in this.
Yes.
And then he's getting funny. I had a meeting with the Twitter board of directors. I've decided to share with you my latest project. I'm finishing up a baseball movie that I've been writing. It'll surprise you. But it does not change my view that the White Sox have a shot at the postseason. Life takes many turns. And then he does adjust the shirt, by the way, with Johnny Cueto was wearing that shirt of his. He says, our team united as one to play a prank of sorts on our flight to the coast. They all wore Jason Benetti fan club shirts. It was a sea of green, but turns out they were all made of Soylent Green, which we all know is great.
Oh, man. I did not see that one.
And that's just, he's just having fun. Like, everyone trolls and they hate it when he trolls back. Like, what does he want? Like, he trolls people that aren't known trolls on White Sox Twitter. He trolls them right back. Why is it okay for Jeff Passan to do it? And then when Steve does it, it's like,
why is it for you? Why is it okay for you to do it to Steve?
Yeah, right.
But not him to return the favor.
Exactly. So I'm good.
And I don't agree with everything Stone puts out there, but you know what? He has every right to say what he wants to say, just like I have every right to say what I want to say. And if you don't agree with what I say, hey, more power to you. You don't have to follow me.
Move along.
Yes.
And here's the best part is he's not unhinged. Okay? He's not the one that's on there writing in all caps, misspelling words because they're typing it in a flurry and double hitting letters and whatever. He's not coming at anybody out of logic. Like, he's in the logic zone. He's cool, calm, and collected. He's not the one that's unhinged. And so that's the funniest part is he's just outing the unhinged as unhinged at this point. And people, we see it all the time. I mean, Twitter is a weird place. We've all come unhinged in a way or two on Twitter, but you could really, really see who right now is just not in a great headspace right now and might need to take some time away from the White Sox. The All-Star break might help him because it's not wrong, guys. If you're not having fun, take a time out. You're not saying nobody's saying leave the White Sox forever. They're just saying if right now it's not good for your mental health, take a TO, baby. Go sabbatical. Go on a hike. Go into the mountains and
go see Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, go see a movie. Turn your phone off. Stop checking the score. Stop tweeting about it. Stop worrying about it. Don't let it occupy your life. And come back if they start figuring it out. Come on back, and then you could be like me and Yumper, which is we expected this with the Cubs. Everything is okay, and it's no big deal. The Cubs have the third worst record in the National League. It's fine. We're now. It's just every loss is a win is a great moment, and a loss is oh well. And White Sox fans, I know that it's not. It's hard not to be critical, but geez, we're not even at the All-Star break. I mean, and the White Sox have not played great baseball. They've not been 100%. If this is affecting how you can operate, are you not eating? Are you not sleeping at night because you stare at the ceiling thinking about Tony La Russa's lineups? Maybe take a timeout just for and that's what he's saying. He's not like, I didn't say adios good. He said adios, like bye, see you in a little bit. Stay like away.
And honestly, to your point, what you're saying, we're saying this somewhat jokingly, but if they're affecting your mental health, go get help.
That too, yeah.
And I'm being entirely serious here when I say this. If it's to the point where you feel like they're affecting your mental health, go seek some help.
I mean, if you have to take a Xanax before the first pitch, if you see Tony La Russa's first his lineup, and you see Lauri Garcia in that lineup, and you have to take a Valium or like some sort of something, you gotta go hit the opium den, with Robert De Niro, like in Once Upon a Time in America. Great movie. There's a really long version on Netflix, by the way. Speaking of,
is that the 4-hour one on Netflix?
Yeah, it's really. I've watched it
with the young Penny Benjamin.
Correct.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's, and again, I'm not telling you how to fan, because there's people out there that want to tell you how to fan. We're not trying to do that. We're actually, if it's not fun, if anything's not fun in your life, don't do it. Like, maybe if you have a job and you don't like it, go to your job until you find it, but don't have to stay there. Go find a better version of that job. If you're not happy in your life, in a relationship, or you don't stick with it, because
I think everyone can speak from experience on the job and or relationship.
Yeah, do what's best for your mental health. And if something's detrimental to your mental health that way, it's not for you. It's not fit for you. Find a better fit. And maybe you're just in a place right now emotionally where everything is tied up and you're just in a really rough spot, period. Take a time. It's okay. I've done this with the Cubs. After KB got traded last year, we have our podcast with the Pinions and Ivy. So I had in this podcast, obviously, we had already been going at that point too. Yeah. I had to pay a little bit of attention when I opened, but I don't think I looked at a Cubs score for a week, 10 days. And mine was more hurt about, I just watched the Giants, to be honest. I didn't pay a single attention to the Cubs, and it made it better. I also got out of DMs that might have made me feel a little elevated. It created anxiety levels, maybe act like I wasn't myself. Those are things you want to do. Take a time out.
You might have sulked in some of them?
I have. I can honestly say I've been pretty in the past. You see me on the text now. We don't go off. Like, we don't. It's not ever really unhinged. We always just kind of go on little. I just hit and send. So I might send like 5, 6, 7 in a row, but I'm not like using all those. Making that sound or something. But when you get into a DM, sometimes if everybody's acting negative, everybody's going to bounce it off each other, and it's going to also make it really rough too. And it carries over. It translates. So if that stuff's doing you, take time out. Take a TO, baby. You don't have to go away forever. But maybe you just step away from the
away from the keyboard.
Yep.
And step away from the TV.
Mute a couple words.
Yes.
And just you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I promise. And the second half, when it's time, when they're there, you can come, be back and enjoy it. Yep. Enjoy the ride. And then you duck in White Sox. You say you enjoy the ride, you better duck.
Yes.
Like sure death. But again, not judgment either, guys. I see a lot of people that I actually think are fantastic people, fantastic accounts, and I've seen some. It feels like it's every day. It's just like it'd be good for your. What you write down is kind of what's coming out of your heart. So
and I'll say I want to add one thing about that. It shows. This is something I think the White Sox organization needs to understand. In my opinion, they're in a very precarious position at this moment in time. They're almost at an inflection point because they talked a big game about this is their contention window and everything else. If they don't fulfill that contention window, and I'm not saying win the World Series, but if they don't make the playoffs, as an example, you're going to see some serious erosion of the fan base.
Sure.
Because they're going to feel they've been lied to. And there is already a subset of the fan base who has never returned after 1994.
Uh-huh.
And what happened with Jerry leading the charge in that and the World Series being canceled. You're looking at possibly losing more fans if you keep this approach, and some fans are. I used to get upset with Kenny Williams and Don Cooper because they would do the fan shaming thing at like Sox Fest. They would say, well, we'd spend money if more of you showed up to the game. So the fans who are there, you're shaming them with stupid fucking statements like this. And it went on for years. That's why, yes, Kenny Williams got the team and won a World Series. Okay, fine. But that's why a lot of people, Kenny Williams should have been fired with the Dave Wilder situation back in like 2007, 2008, whenever it was. If you don't understand what the Dave Wilder situation is, go look it up. Let's just say the FBI paid a couple visits to the White Sox. So if you don't understand what that situation is, go look it up. Kenny Williams should have also been fired, along with Ozzie Guillen, at the end of the 2011 season for the way those two acted at the end of the season. They should have both been fired.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't picking sides. Both of them needed to go. Ozzie got the golden ticket to go to Miami and then shot his mouth off there about Castro, and we know what happened there. Kenny Williams is still here. He should have been fired after the 2011 season. So, that's part of the thing with the White Sox, because the people see it's the same constants every year and you're accomplishing nothing. At some point, you have to look at the dynamic and say, well, what's the consistent here? It ain't the players. It ain't the manager. It's the front office. They don't know how to draft. They don't know how to develop. They don't know how to spend money smartly.
Oh, I'm trying to find it, but I can't seem to locate it.
What's that?
But I'm trying to see what Tony La Russa's record by month is. And I
over his career or just with the Sox this last
his
run?
Career, what are his tendencies?
I think he's generally been a slow starter.
Is he a finisher? That's what I'm checking. I'm trying to figure out based on the numbers. Is he more a finisher? It's just hard with the Cardinals because the Cubs are always so far behind so early.
Yeah. I think, in all honesty, he's a finisher. I could think of a couple of exceptions to that. The 2004 Cardinals, basically that division race was over in July. Because they won 105 games that year or something ridiculous like that.
Mm.
And they got steamrolled by the Red Sox in the World Series. The late 80s and 1990 Oakland Athletics, I want to say they won 100-plus games each year. So you are not necessarily a slow starter if you're finishing with 100-plus wins. But like the 2006 Cardinals, they came out of nowhere at the end to win the division and then go on to win the World Series. 2011 Cardinals came, again, had to play the play-in game with that infamous infield fly rule when the ball was halfway in the outfield.
So there you go. I mean,
yeah.
I just... it's Coach Witt, who I coached with here for a while, and for 20 years. He's a Hall of Fame coach here in Southern Nevada. He's the winningest coach in high school baseball history here in Southern Nevada. He had this method because here, obviously you don't go to the playoffs based on your overall record here in Vegas. You go non-league, which don't mean anything except for just rankings and, pat on the back. You don't get into the playoffs based on anything other than your league schedule. And I know it's like that in most places, but you play here, our leagues are 2 games against 5 other teams. So league here is usually 10 or 12 games of your 29 or whatever you're allowed to schedule. So you're really playing like 20 or so almost, or 15 or so, non-league games that mean nothing. They're like spring training. And Witt always had this mentality and those are always games, usually most of those are before the season starts. And maybe you'll pepper 1 or 2 in to stay sharp during league play where you can play like your bench guys and they can get some innings. And Witt has always done this. And this all, people don't see this. They don't get it. And I actually followed through this in the previous program that I was the head coach at, and people didn't get it. I scheduled the hardest non-league schedule I could possibly schedule. Literally not a single team that's not in the playoffs, that's not like a top tier program. And said, we're going to go get our ass beat if we have to a little bit until we figure it out. Witt does this. Witt's concept, which is what I stole, is he does not take, he just is pushing buttons, trying things, lineups. He doesn't give 2 shits about the record until you get to league play. So a lot of times his teams roll into league play like 7-9 or something like that, 7-11. And people are like, wow, Silverado really fallen off? Nope. League play starts, boom, 10-2. Mm-hmm. Like dominant, wins the division, goes on, wins playoff games. Win state, this is how he does it. Like he builds into it. And this is I will say old school, man. He's hilarious. He is more progressive, I'd say, probably than Tony La Russa, obviously. And he's more flexible, and he's not the same age as La Russa. He's still 20 years. He's in his, late 50s, but not that old. And, but he's that kind of way too. He's a hard-nosed guy that'll, he's the one that taught me about, when you see kids dicking around, ask them if they play and switch them. What's switch them? That's when you put one thumb in your mouth and the other in your butthole and then switch them because you're bored, because you're not working. Get to work. And so that's a running gag. What is he doing? Is he working? No, he's out there playing switch him again. So that's like the verbatim or whatever that we would use, or the verbiage. Mm-hmm. That's how he does it. And you look at Tony La Russa, is the same kind of concept. These guys don't really, they are at this point, until you're like really deep out of it, they're trying to push the right buttons until the right buttons are pushed. Sometimes it takes a month. Sometimes it might take longer. And in this case, it's obviously taking longer, especially with guys out with injury. Mm-hmm. And Tony La Russa is trying to push, so it doesn't, people don't understand why Tony La Russa is not worried. It's not because he's an idiot. It's not because he's drunk and numb to the pain. It's because he has seen enough baseball to know that once the switch has been found, how good this team can be. Just like everybody else knows how good this team can be, which is why they're upset about underachieving. They know how good it could be. And Tony La Russa firmly believes that once they find that switch, this team will be that team. And once that team shows up, as long as it doesn't show up in September and it shows up sometime before, mid-August, this team is dangerous, and this team is going to create some trouble. And I can tell you, nobody in baseball outside of the White Sox organization wants the White Sox to figure it out. And they're going to do whatever they can. I mean, all tricks are on the board. All the dirty tricks. You could use social media influencing to put the White Sox in the grave if you wanted to. It's not just one thing or the other. They can come at the White Sox because they see him as a threat, knock them out. Other ways. And that's what I think White Sox fans need to see, is that White Sox are dangerous. So teams are going to play their best against them because they don't want them to wake up. Because once they wake up, trouble.
But the problem, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with it. The problem with that, it's kind of hard to find that switch when you keep losing guys to injury. And that's my biggest problem is the same thing that the White Sox have done for years. Our buddy Beefloaf always posts that meme. The White Sox plan, stay healthy. Mm-hmm. It's the same story every year. If you put the varsity out there, the varsity is top notch. But if you have a couple of breaks in that varsity, what do you have right now? 4 guys out of the varsity that are on the IL at this moment. Grandal, Eloy, Moncada. Who's the 4th that I'm missing? I wouldn't count Mendick in there, but
funny. Did you say Grandal?
I got Grandal, Eloy, Moncada, Liam Hendricks is another one you could say.
Hendricks, yep.
But so you have at least 3 starters, and the Sox just threw one ball. Again, not hitting the cutoff man, throwing it basically throwing it home and throwing it over the catcher's head, whoever's catching today. So the Angels, wait, what? Take it back. It was a 3-run homer. And you know why it was a 3-run homer? Because Sheets bobbled it, and it went over the fence, hit a fan, who's wearing a Sox jersey, by the way, over the fence, and then came back in the field, and he threw it home. But it's technically a 3-run homer. Mm-hmm. That play sums up the White Sox season to a T. No, it didn't hit the fan. It looked like it did, but it didn't. So hopefully they replay it.
Let's see here.
It's off his glove, top of the fence, bounces. It should not be a home run, but they called it a home run.
Looks like KB got his first hit in his second at bat, it looks like. So got off that. Line drive.
So the play's being reviewed right now.
Oh, it's being reviewed. Oh, very nice.
Yes, they are reviewing right now. So right now it's at least 2-0.
Well, speaking of reviews, let's talk a little bit about Obi-Wan Kenobi's television show. Let's review Obi-Wan.
Yes.
I know you just finally finished the season.
Yes.
You won't call it season 1. It's just the season. It's a
the season, yes.
And I finished it, obviously, so that's great. So we've got a connection here on what we've seen. So we're both Star Wars dorks. We love it. So what do you thought? What are your thoughts? Did you like it? Was the Force this one, or was it Bantha Poodoo?
Easy there, Jabba. I liked it. I did like it. I would give it a solid B plus A minus. There's one thing, and I tweeted about it this either last night or this morning. I can't remember when. I don't understand how the Empire took over the galaxy when the stormtroopers can't hit the broadside of a barn when they're shooting. I don't get it. But aside from that, I really liked it. Ewan McGregor just has the Obi-Wan character down, you know. And there were 2 cameos in the last episode.
Uh-huh.
One I knew was coming because with the scene where the mask is partially off, I knew who was coming. I knew who would be appearing with that because we've seen that before. Except he appeared a little bit different in a different way than I thought. The second one, at the very end, makes perfect sense based on the ending of Revenge of the Sith. Perfect sense.
Yeah. Good.
But I thought, to me, Vader was showing a little weakness. I don't know if it's weakness or blind hatred, if you will, when it comes to Third Sister. Because remember, at one point he tells her, I know what you really are. And why he didn't finish the job.
Because she's a useful pawn still.
Yes.
I
guess.
Remember the guy goes, hate keeps you alive.
Yes. Yep. I really liked it. I did like it. The house, well, where Ben lived, it looked different, but he moves at the end, so maybe that's what it is compared to where he was at the beginning of A New Hope. And obviously he's much older at the beginning of A New Hope, and the character, the little character, I'll say, because I don't want to do any spoilers. This character, if you get this reference, if you get the reference I'm pointing to right now, that character was kind of annoying, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
that's not really a spoiler at this point. You can say that.
Right. The Princess Leia character was annoying as hell to me. And there's one thing I don't get. And maybe I'm just reading too much into this because we're talking over 40 years ago. You got another review going? Oh, the hell. When Leia sends the message to Obi-Wan in A New Hope, she said, you fought with my father during the Clone Wars. Never made reference to having met him before, been on an adventure with him before. I would think that would be something that you would also mention in that message. But again, we're talking about a movie that came out in 1977. They probably had no idea that all this was going to come down 40 some odd years later.
Yep. Lucas had a different plan for this whole franchise. They threw that in the trash after they bought it. Kathleen Kennedy said, "Ha, my turn."
Yes.
And we went this way.
Yep.
We made some
incredibly
weak male characters I've seen in film history over the last, I don't know how many franchises, but like I can maybe say 1 or 2 characters stood out to me as actually strong male leads, and the rest were all worthless to me. I'm going to agree with you on the show in a little bit. I mean, me and Yumper, I'd say the show's finale redeemed a lot of it. I'd say the first 3 episodes, blah. Fourth episode, meh, okay. 5th episode was like, all right. And then the 6th episode, like, hell yeah, that's what I came here for. Yeah. And that's kind of how it works. You mentioned the mask thing, by the way. That is actually a reference. The exact opposite view of when you're talking about the mask happened in Clone Wars or Rebels, Star Wars Rebels, when Ahsoka has a duel. and she gets the other side of that mask. And so it's the duality of Anakin. Both people that love him both had to look onto his real eyes to see him. Now, you say a little thing about him being a weaker character and being scared. I think that scene that you're talking about where he was basically told to sit down and shut up by the Emperor was him going, okay, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You got it now.
Yeah.
When you turn your back, I'm going to turn my son against you, bitch. I think that was a moment where he's like,
yeah, but he didn't know that he had a son at that point.
oh, no, I'm just saying. Like,
I know.
He's going to betray him at first chance.
Yeah.
And
he's waiting till the time is right. Yes.
You know, the whole that's going to be a thing. So it is, the third sister gets a lot. I thought that she looked good. She was very good at standing there with her lightsaber, staring off, angry and pissed. She did that a good, but the acting part when she actually was performing outside of just, great, choreography, especially with some of the fight sequences. I don't have any problem with those at all. None of that felt stupid, but I did feel the whole, her performance as an actor was just left a little bit desired, and it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't great. And it made it really difficult early. You bring up little Leia, especially in the first few episodes. My biggest pet peeve about the entire show is really catered around the two of them. Little Leia was really frustrating early on. Yumper's right. She did, the more you got to, I think the less she had to like establish her character and she could be a secondary character in what was going on and not out front was much better because she's still, children acting at all is not great. Boy, girl, whatever. A lot of people were like upset because you're misogynist because you don't like the third sister's acting or you don't like little Leia's acting. I'm like, no, I just didn't like the actor's acting. There were other great female performances in the show, but for me, I looked at that. So that character is an interesting, weird character. But the show itself, not horrible. I did though. The first 3 episodes, they could have probably just changed it to Little Leia and the third sister as a buddy comedy, a road comedy or something. Yeah. And it would have worked because it really wasn't about Obi-Wan and Anakin. And I really did. I wanted a lot more Obi-Wan. I wanted Obi-Wan's development. I wanted to develop Obi-Wan's, his time. I wanted to believe that Obi-Wan was the one Jedi that didn't turn into Luke, didn't turn into that Jedi that gets, just turned off to all of it and just is weak. And
becomes a hermit, basically.
Yeah. But no, I even think that I always believed that the hermit was an act. All of that was an act.
Oh, no. I'm talking about Luke becoming the hermit, not Obi-Wan. Yeah. Obi-Wan technically became a hermit because he was being Luke's bodyguard.
This was bad because he's horrible. He's not a Jedi at the beginning of the show. He starts out. How can you honor your commitment to protect Luke if you're not your best self? And I always maintain this belief, and this is my expectation filtering into my, my judging of the show. And I probably shouldn't do that, but I always believe that Obi-Wan was the one Jedi that after everything was so committed to it that every day he was going to be a Jedi in that cave. He was going to appear weak, appear crazy. Only because that then, it diffuses others against him. And he was that speak softly, carry a big stick. And I loved that humble. That was what a Jedi was encompassing, that perfect humility and dedication to the craft. And none of that was true. He was just like Luke. He was, the guy that, this is all stupid. The only thing he was missing was drinking that green milk shit because he was I'm not a Jedi. I'm not good enough, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you have to be redeemed by somebody.
Well, and
I'm like one character that doesn't have to be fucking redeemed that actually did it right, because there are people on this earth, the great ones that do get through and they make it and they do have dedication and they don't cave when shit goes bad. We needed one character that just said, I know shit went wrong, but I kept my chin up and I went forward. I didn't lose confidence. And all we see are people that drop on the roller coaster and up and down. And I know it's great for storytelling, but it's a trope. It's cliche now. It's okay to have a hero like Superman that makes the right decision every damn time. We need that a little bit just for entertainment. We didn't have it. So I lost my whole thoughts on Obi-Wan was, again, and now he, and it does end up because he was so strong in Rebels. It was great how they portrayed him in Star Wars Rebels. I loved him in Star Wars Rebels. It was great. That whole season when he shows up is just so good. And the end of it when he faces off with Darth Maul again, it's just a absolute fantastic. This wasn't it. And so I guess, that little, whatever it is, chunk, what is it? Maybe an 8-year chunk, 9-year chunk.
It was 10 years.
And that 10-year chunk just.
Well, and what bothers
gave me at least peace.
Yeah. And what bothered me about the 10-year, because it starts then 10 years later, it shows the younglings and then 10 years later.
Mhm.
And for those of you who don't know, the younglings are the future Jedis or future Jedis in training that were slaughtered by Anakin in one of his first acts as Darth Vader. But what bothered me was he let his skills go. How could he protect young Luke by letting his skills go?
Yep.
Because he makes reference to it. I'm not the man I used to be. I don't do that anymore. Stuff like that. He should have been training. And to your point about he's the only one who maintained, and you felt he was the only one who maintained. I think the only one who really did was Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda was always kind. As soon as Luke gets there, he boom, right, and he did the same thing. He appeared weak and crazy until he could know who he could trust Luke, and then he revealed his true self to Luke. That's the whole thing. Obi-Wan, in the same sense, I mean, the whole time he goes into this protection mode with Luke, he has to know who in the end game will be the final boss that he's going to have to face to protect Luke sometime down the road. He had to know. You'd be a moron to not know that someday Anakin Skywalker will come for his son in some way, shape, or form. He had to know there's no chance. So he decided that he was just going to not prepare himself for the test, the toughest battle. And so, and Obi-Wan in all of the Star Wars lore is one of the most powerful Jedi ever as well. At least for their, in all of that, he's not that far behind Anakin with midichlorians. He's very powerful. And, he's also special. And that's why he obviously is on the Jedi Council. And that's, it weakened him, but whatever. It ended that way. It ended really well. If you like shows that are, that donkey picture where it's like, it looks like really nice at the beginning and then it becomes like a stick figure art by a kid at the end of the picture of the horse. It's the exact opposite. The beginning of this horse is terrible. It's a cartoon. It's bad. And the last half of this horse is actually solid. So it is worth watching. For Star Wars fans, just temper your expectations of what you thought you were going to get from Obi-Wan. And it just doesn't have as much Obi-Wan character development as we had hoped. I at least had hoped. But you know what? They've done great with the Mandalorian, the Boba Fett series. They're going to. I think this new what's his name? Caspian.
So
show is going to be great. So we'll see. But
I'll be honest with you. In the last step,
when Kathleen Kennedy touches a project, it turns into dog shit.
Yep.
Right now, when Taika Waititi, Jon Favreau, and what's his name? The guy that wrote the Clone Wars. Oh gosh, he's like he's more the cartoon.
I can't think of it.
We're
at Chirizi or Sox Machine Josh when you need him.
Right. Oh God, what's his name? It's Dave Filoni. My goodness gracious, Dave Filoni. When those three are part of a project, it's really good. Everything that Kathleen Kennedy's really touched recently has been dog shit. Same with Indiana Jones, to be honest. So
yeah. Well, I thought there would in the last episode on Tatooine.
Mm-hmm.
When Third Sister arrives on Tatooine, I thought we might get a third, super cameo. I thought somebody may show up in that chase scene with the Third Sister. I was fully expecting someone to come out, and it didn't happen.
Here's me too. Where's Jabba in all this? Because this is Jabba's at full strength at this point, and all these incursions from the Empire on his outer rim. I mean, I don't know, man. Jabba wasn't going to just be like, "Hey."
Yeah, and it wasn't Jabba who I was thinking of.
No, but I'm just thinking Jabba, Third Sister walking in like that with the Jabba's not going to mess around with it. That'd been Boba Fett. Maybe been the one to take care of her.
Yeah,
you're interrupting his money, the money that he's making because you mess up the marketplace.
Yep.
Nah, get them. You're not in. This is not the Tatooine's not in the Empire, right? Tatooine is correct, right? They're their own.
That's why they're on Tatooine because it's not part of the Empire. It's far away from the Empire.
Yeah, you have no power here, kids. So I don't know, but still worth a shot.
Absolutely. If you're a Star Wars fan, it's worth watching.
Exactly. And so I know I'll just jump on this real quick. I don't want to go too long because we are pushing,
Yeah.
now at this point. But I also got a chance to go see Elvis yesterday with my fiance. So that was a something I was pretty excited for. Real quick before we do that, let's make sure we tell you guys a little bit about Yumper and Swo's movie Under the Stars.
I have the description here, so let me pull it up real quick. So, Yumper and Svo Summer Movie Barbecue Bash. Join us for an outdoor movie and barbecue. Tickets include barbecue/drinks and a seat to our outdoor screening of a cinematic masterpiece. Tickets are $25 a piece, and all money is donated to Center for Reproductive Rights or Planned Parenthood. And there is also, if you go out to the Eventbrite link that they provide, you can buy tickets to the event, which is going to be limited, and or you can provide a donation to one of these groups as well. This is something that, they approached Fidds and I about this, was it Saturday night?
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that, everyone feels very strongly about. So if you feel the same way, by all means, feel free to jump in and join us. I will be there. Maybe Fidds shows up if everybody asks him nicely. Maybe.
It's definitely a great cause. And again, they feel very strongly about the charity that they're raising funds for.
Yes.
Considered. And it's, we support our guys, man. And I might not be able to make it out there. I do have a wedding, like I'm back to back at school starting. So it's a really tough travel time, not to mention a trip that's going to be, right after that, like early September, like September 10th or whatever. Got a lot of travel. So I will try. Maybe I can find some good Frontier thing. And I'll just like ride in like the baggage claim or something. Come out for like a $38 fare or something. And just if I can actually wing it. But it's definitely great. So support those guys and, make sure you follow their podcast and them on Twitter and listen to podcasts, man. They're fantastic. It's great movie stuff. Yes. We're trying to stunt it so they go next week and then we go the week after.
Yes.
Right. We're trying to stunt it so that you get every other week you're getting us. Yeah. And every other week you're getting them, but then you're not like left waiting 2 weeks for both of us. You get, we're just kind of giving you little doses. The first,
right. And
first hit
this weekend's going to be tough because of the July 4th holiday coming on a week from today. So, we're trying to align it that way. So bear with us as we try to get that schedule locked down. But the guys are out there killing it, doing great things, trying to do great things, trying to change the world, one movie at a time, if you will. So please support them and in their efforts to do so.
Absolutely. And so with that said, what they review, they're going to probably be reviewing this film that just came out this weekend on their show. Hopefully soon you will. I'm going to get a review. We're going to pop up I'm going to write it out for the taintedglove.com. So you get a full boat, like, lyrical, I don't know, prose filled film review, a proper film review on our website at taintedglove.com. So hop over there for that kind of stuff. But I got to see Elvis yesterday in the Dolby. Great format, loud, and I can tell you this is a very good film. It's a Baz Luhrmann film, director Baz Luhrmann. If you're familiar with Moulin Rouge, Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio,
Great Gatsby with DiCaprio too.
Correct. Great Gatsby was one of his. I think Australia was one. A fantastic director that really does have a very specific eye, especially with his artwork in the films that he makes and the use of music and everything that he does. It almost turns into small mini musicals, if you will, with some of these films that he makes. And Elvis is no exception. Elvis, I dare you to watch Elvis and in the first hour of the film not tap your foot for at least, for longer than, keep your foot still for at least 3 minutes. It's impossible. The soundtrack is great. The performance is great. Obviously Tom Hanks is playing Colonel Parker. Colonel Taylor's my favorite whiskey. Sorry. Colonel Parker. You got Austin Butler, he played Tex in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's playing Elvis Presley, does a great job. Olivia DeJonge plays Priscilla Presley. Dacre Montgomery, if you've seen Stranger Things, the brother from Stranger Things, he's not on Stranger Things 4. Maggie Gyllenhaal was supposed to be in it. She backed out. Cody Smith-McGee, who was an Oscar nominee at most recently this year. And the cast is great. The music is just fantastic. Early Elvis is actually sung. Specifically, it's actually the songs are sung by Austin Butler, and you can't tell a difference. You really can't.
Wow.
And his performance as Elvis, I see a lot of people are like, he doesn't look anything like Elvis, and I'm like, I'm like the opposite. I like his voice and his teeth, and especially with the way he talks with his S's and stuff.
Hunga, burning love, baby.
Like it's so good. Like to me, I feel like the performance. I mean, I didn't know Elvis. I was born 2 months before he died, or whatever, 3 months before he was born, or he died, and I was born, and that's what happens when you're born. And maybe they hit me too hard when I was born, if I keep repeating myself, but the performances to me was next level. And there's for Vegas people, oh my God, the love story to Vegas, the time relevant stuff, whether it's the 1997 Vegas where the Hilton even has Star Trek, The Experience on the billboard marquee, because that's when Colonel Parker died in 97 here in Vegas, or whether it's the Vegas in the 70s where it was the International and it was, the big Elvis thing on it. You could see the Strip. The difference is he's driving by the Stardust at one point, but then when you see modern Vegas, it's gone. The Stratosphere is over there though. Like it's great. That part of it too, but the performances are excellent. The music's fantastic. The story is great, but the thing that stands out to me most, of course, it's got the Baz Luhrmann style to it, is the filters that he utilizes for each decade with Elvis. The black and white filter makes it look like it's actually the black and white broadcast. The 1960s filter makes it look like you're watching a broadcast in the 60s. The 70s, the 70s, it looks like that long, that cinemascope where everyone's head got a little bit longer, like Frankenberry Crunch, because the screen was stretched with the aspect ratio. And it looked so good. And how he performs it, and they really do at the end. It's a really cool thing. It's eye-opening a little bit because you see, Austin Butler's overweight Elvis at the end. I mean, Elvis played one last show. Like you could see the video. It's like a month before he died or less. And he sings Unchained Melody, and it's incredible, but he looks terrible. Like he looks like a raisin that's been sitting in water for weeks, and he doesn't look good. And you don't see that if you're at that time period. You just think, fat Elvis. But when you watch it and you know that he's going to die soon, like this is it, you could see he looks horrible. And he still has the pipes though when he hits those high notes on Unchained Melody. And that is one of the parts with that part at the end. Like you don't even leave the theater before like the credits roll. When you see that and you're like, God, you really do see how well Austin Butler did in his performance, because you're like, is that Austin Butler or is that Elvis? Oh,
it was actually an Elvis performance. It was like a performance from, is it Elvis's last concert? I think in Indianapolis.
I think it might have been Indianapolis. Yeah, it's the last concert where he sings Unchained Melody, and that's like where he's sitting at the piano and he's got his Coke plastic cup and he plays the piano, and he had to have the guy hold the microphone for him, and he was like out of breath sitting down, and he was almost until he was singing. In between takes, he sounded terrible. He sounded like a dude that's strung out. And this film does not candy coat it. I love the fact that it visits Beale Street. My favorite guitarist in the world, him and Jack White, Gary Clark Jr. Gary Clark Jr. has a small role in the film. And I'll keep that as he's in the film. I won't spoil anything else. But yes, Gary Clark Jr. plays guitar and sings in it. And I actually, as soon as I heard his guitar riff, I'm like, whoa. And then I heard the voice. And he hadn't come on camera yet. And I go, Carrie, that's Gary Clark Jr. She's like, what? I'm like, that's Gary Clark Jr. And then boom, he jumps up on the screen for the part that, one of the parts that he's in. I'm like, oh my God, this movie just got even better for me. The music is so good. And the Beale Street stuff in Memphis and how much he took, from black music at the time, how he took, it was a mashup of country and
gospel,
and that gospel, and of course the blues. And the love of blues in this film for me is great. And the Chicago fans, most Chicago music fans love blues as well. I hope, God, I mean, there's a city of blues, for Pete's sake. It's between us and Beale Street. It is such an homage to the Memphis Beale Street blues scene, though. And it's so cool to watch those scenes and to see how Elvis impacted Elvis, too. So I think it's a great film. I don't know. I've heard some people say it's Baz Luhrmann's best film. I don't know. Romeo and Juliet, to me, is going to make it a hard no for me, but it's one of his best films. Better than Gatsby, better than Australia. I really love Moulin Rouge. I think it's slightly better than Moulin Rouge as well, as far as the Baz Luhrmann films. So worth seeing, though. See it loud. See it with a really good projector, because the visuals are fantastic. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful film. It's going to get some art direction nominations. It's going to get a Best Picture nomination. It's going to probably get some Best Actor nominees as well. Tom Hanks is almost unnoticeable. You don't even realize it's Tom Hanks as Colonel Parker. He's, the prosthesis that he wears. It's a well done film across the board, and I highly recommend it. I think people that are just want to hate, they're probably going to tell you that it doesn't look anything like Elvis, but I'm telling you, the performance is really good. He's a weird guy too when you watch the interviews. So I've been watching the
Elvis. Oh yeah.
No, Austin Butler.
Oh, okay.
Butler's interviews. I'm like, is he trying to act like he's like the new Johnny Depp? Because he's kind of like,
Oh, he's channeling his inner Keith Richards.
Yeah, he's channeling that. I want every single girl watching this interview. So good film though. Good film. We're seeing. I would definitely recommend it. I haven't gotten to see the Black Phone yet. But I know that I think Yumper or Swole was going to go see that today or tomorrow. You might tune into them. Might give you a little bit of that though. But
and then we got Thor coming next week.
Correct.
Is it next Thursday? Right, like the
July 7th is the first screening. Our tickets for July 7th. We're going July. That's the Thursday night. So yeah, technically July 8th, but July 7th early screenings. And it's getting great reviews. I'm seeing a lot of reviews saying that it might be one of the best, if not the best, Marvel film. And a lot of stuff talks about the energy. It's Taika Waititi, and we get the return of Jane Foster as Lady Thor. A lot of cool, fun stuff in it. Everything that Taika Waititi does, I've never not liked anything he's ever done. And when you see these reviews, it's great to read them because they had their premiere a couple weeks last Thursday or Wednesday or whatever, and it's getting great reviews. So that'll be something to really get pumped about for us in the Marvel summer with these cool, good summer movies coming out now. Big budgets. We got Top Gun still running strong. We got Elvis hitting. We've got Thor coming out, and into the fall when we start getting out. We're getting to the second half of the year. All the Oscar films are going to start hitting. So that'll be pretty exciting. It's kind of funny too. I not to kind of hijack a story, but the Comic-Con San Diego, which is really the original, like the big Comic-Con, is in San Diego at the end of next month. And one of Carrie's clients at her company is STK, which is a steakhouse. It's a fantastic, really cool kind of it's a higher end steakhouse that's a little bit more vibey. As it's for the old curmudgeon food critics. They hate it because there's music playing while you're eating. Like, I don't like to go eat my steak at a club, but it's a cool place. I like the joint. Really good fries. The fries are so good. They're like this big and they're square. Like they're like, anyway, like parallelograms. Anyway, that they had this thing we had a brainstorming meeting today at work, and we had to come up with Marvel or Comic-Con themed cocktails and meals and whatever that we could recommend to the client STK. Maybe they could implement for the delicious treats of Comic-Con, which is like a 7 to 10 day thing. So they'll have these specials on their drinks. So I got dorky and I got a little bit of a hair going, and so we came up with a couple of things. The desserts that are breakable. You can have a Thor hammer, right? Mm-hmm. Right, ice for the Doctor Strange or Shazam cocktail goblets, right? So you can do that. Nice. You could do flights, which is DC and Marvel, so a DC flight versus a Marvel flight, and you can have who's better. The Logan Weapon X Wolverine dessert, which has like a claw through it. The Deadpool, it's maple and bourbon Newski's bacon, so it's a Canadian bacon with maple syrup, and I called that the Deadpool because it's Canadian, like Ryan Reynolds. Nice. Typical cliche Dr. Octopus, definitely with calamari, but we came up with cocktails too. The White Russian could be Black Widow because she's white and she's Russian.
That's right.
My favorite one though that I got to, we had the Infinity Gauntlet that has the old fashioned is Stan Lee, just called the Stan Lee. Full Hulk Smash is a green mojito smash, basically, so it's a smash. The Thor on the Ragnarok. So I thought was funny, but an Icelandic cocktail. And my favorite one though is I want to call it It's Morbin Time, which is it's their best worst cocktail they can make. And I know they're gonna not choose that one, but man, I wish they would. So those are some of the stupid ideas that came out of it. With the DC ones, we had the Kryptonite cocktail. Green Lantern was cucumber stiletto. I want to do a Black Adam, which is like a super strong espresso martini on The Rock.
Oh, no, I like that one. That's a nice one.
The Catwoman. I like the Harley Quinn, which is like cherry vodka, tequila, rum, grenadine, and simple syrup with black sanding sugar on the rim. And I liked the Joker, which is like a purple Jolly Rancher infused vodka and seltzer with a lime garnish. I thought that was a good one. The Flash was fruit punch, a red fruit punch energy drink, vodka, and triple sec on the rocks. And then the Alfred, my favorite. The Alfred, non-alcoholic iced tea for the responsible one of the party. Give us some of those pitches, and we'll see if they take any. I'll let you guys know, and I'll show you guys the menus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stupid. This is what happens when they turn me loose in the office now. Is I get stupid. I'm stupid, like really stupid, and I got fixated on it. So, and I shared it with the rest of the office, and shut the fuck up, Kevin.
So, just FYI to everyone, I will be in San Francisco this weekend to see the Sox play the San Francisco Giants. I'll be going to all 3 games. I will be in the company of the true legend, the one, the only, Mr. Walter Money. He will be there as well with Mrs. Walter Money and several others. Bruhan Luke will be out there. Steve-O will be out there. Trying to think of who else is going. There's many others going. So we'll be out there all weekend. I'll try and post some videos of what's going on. I've been to now Oracle Park before. Beautiful place to see a ball game. I'm a huge fan of San Francisco, the city. Haven't been there since the pandemic started, so I'm a little concerned about some of these stories I hear about what the city's become, but we'll find out. But we'll definitely be there. If you're there, search us out. Can't miss us. We'll be sitting in section 108, right behind the Sox dugout. So feel free to search us out. Like I said, I'll be posting some videos. Hopefully we can get some White Sox wins. Carlos Rodon will not be facing the Sox because his rotation spot falls on Wednesday for the Giants, so he won't be facing the Sox. But the Yerminator has been recalled by the Giants, so he will be facing the White Sox.
That'll be great. Rise of the Phoenix. Oh! Definitely.
So we'll see how that goes.
Do me a favor while you're in San Francisco. If you guys
Yeah.
you guys are up near North Beach area, near Little Italy, hop over to Cafe Vesuvio for me and get you a cocktail and drink a whiskey over there for me. It's my favorite bar in San Diego or in San Francisco. It's right there next to Kerouac Alley.
Okay.
And it's right next to City Lights Books, which is the greatest bookstore in America. And it's also by all the strip clubs. But it's a great little area to drink. There's a couple other places there. Across from Vesuvio, I think it's Cafe Tosca. If you're lucky, you might run into Sean Penn. Sean Penn likes to drink there a bunch. Hunter S. Thompson once tended bar there.
Nice.
And when he sprained his ankle, he wrapped it up using the phone cord. And the only reason he was tending bar is because the owner stepped out of the building for a second. He decided he was going to tend bar. But
there you go. Why not?
that's the center. If you're a big fan of the free speech movement of the 50s with the poem Howl with Allen Ginsberg.
Ginsberg's poem Howl, yeah.
That's where they were. That's the epicenter of the Beats right there.
Okay.
So if you're a fan of the Beats of that whole thing, which is big for me, a Jack Kerouac fan, if you're a big Ken Kesey fan, Burroughs, Ginsberg, that whole group, that's a really cool place. They got the Kerouac Museum, which has all, him and Neil Cassidy stuff. I go there every time. And it's right near Chinatown as well. You can actually pop over 2 streets and you can go get yourself some Peking duck out of the window if you want and drink some port wine, as he used to do. So
I've been, like I said, I've been to San Francisco many times before. I used to do some consulting work at the Charles Schwab office right on the outskirts of Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 blocks or a block from that. Was it Transamerica building?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know that building is where they filmed some scenes from Dirty Harry. They filmed a lot of the exterior shots for the Towering Inferno at that building. It's just amazing when you look at this stuff. You're like, I've seen this before. Where? And then you realize where you've seen it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you get a chance, if you walk by it and you see a place called Molinari Delicatessen, stop there. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. And there's another place, I always forget the name of it. It's actually, if you're a big fan of the Primantis in Pittsburgh, they do a Primantis. It's like a Primanti sub. More of a Pittsburgh Primanti Brothers kind of style. But it's called, oh, man, where did it go?
But the plan is definitely to have some Gilroy's garlic. They have some Gilroy's garlic fries Friday. Well, all 3 games at the ballpark.
Right outside of the ballpark, there's also a place you get chicken and waffles. It's like almost, and you don't eat. It's not a sit down place. You just order at the window, and it's some of the best chicken and waffles I've ever had in my life. It's right at the ballpark. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the Gilroy's garlic fries at the ballpark down the right field line, and also hitting the See's Candy Store to get some peanut brittle.
Ooh.
Oh, that stuff is addictive. There's actually a See's Candy Store in Downers Grove, too, but there's just something about getting it out there that's different. Because that's like the home base where it all started.
I'm trying to figure out what's the name. Is the name Little Skillet? Is it called Little Skillet? I think it's called Little Skillet. Yeah, chicken and waffle. No, not Little Skillet. Oh, God, what's it called? Oh, man, I can't. It's the best chicken and waffles I've ever had. It was oh man, I can't remember the name of it now. Oh, it was like maybe called the Box Kitchen. Box Kitchen.
Yeah, no
Box
clue.
Kitchen. It is Box Kitchen.
Okay.
Box Kitchen, right next door to it's right next door to the ballpark. And
You sure it wasn't replaced by the baseballism store?
I just total nerding out, but San Francisco is one of my favorite cities in America. Boulder, Colorado, Austin, Texas, New Orleans, and of course, besides Chicago and Vegas. Obviously, this is outside of that. San Diego, but San Francisco is. I bug carry a bunch that we need it. We don't go there, and I used to go to San Francisco twice a year minimum because again, I always go in the spring, and then I always go sometime in the late summer, and that's it's a great spot, man. I'm jealous. You guys are gonna have a blast. I hope you guys are safe. But enjoy the town. The old Matrix Fillmore, where the great they started. That's an ultra lounge now.
Oh, really?
It's like an ultra lounge, so it's like clubby. It's just weird that is now.
I've done the bus tour, and where they take you by the house the dead lived in, the Red Door from Jimi Hendrix's song "The Red Door," where the Jefferson Airplane lived, and then the funniest part is they go at one point, "Oh, and that's Danny Glover's house right there." You know him from the Lethal Weapon series.
Haight and Ashbury, go get original Ben and Jerry's down there on the Haight.
Yes,
Haight and Ashbury is the real area. That's where
I joke with people and tell them there were two companies located in Haight Ashbury that were nods to 21st century capitalism: Ben and Jerry's and Starbucks.
Yep. Man, that Ben and Jerry's right at the Haight too, man. There's a good place. There's another breakfast joint I had there. I can't remember what it was called. It was called a Robin's Nest. It was like a egg. They made the hash browns look like a robin's nest, and they were,
really?
They were crispy like a nest, like twigs. Yeah. And they put the egg in it, and it was like a hash in it. I was like, ooh, that was good.
The one mistake I made when I went there to one time and did the bus tour, I did not get off at Haight Ashbury and go into the record stores.
Oh, that's gonna be another good part of it. Yeah.
But that could be a very expensive part of it too,
because you have to ship them home. or put them in a carry-on bag that are not going to fit in.
Yes,
that'll be great, man. I'm glad you guys are going. All you guys, if you're listening, you're going to enjoy yourselves. Hopefully, the White Sox will go out there and pound out and give you guys a good show. You go all that way, but also the city. Enjoy everything San Francisco has. Drink some drinks, eat some delicious food. One of the best food places in America. Try and stay away from some of those underpasses, or you might see some nudity and some pooping.
Yes. And some needles.
And some needles, maybe, a little bit. So I got my car towed once. I had to go pick it up in a lot right over there. I didn't get it towed. She parked it and she didn't. She told me she took care of the meter and she didn't. And then we woke up in the morning and our car was gone.
Oh, jeez.
We had to walk to this place. It was like a mile and it was like in that area. And I'm like, oh. But, yeah, so have a good time though, guys. I mean, other than that though, we're gonna put a pin in this one. We got a little bit long, but we haven't seen each other in a little couple weeks. Catching back up and talking some fun stuff. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We know your time is valuable. But for me, other than I go at the Cubs, doing what the Cubs do. Got some great movies coming out. I'm actually heading to Palm Springs for 1st through the 4th of July. So I'm gonna be able to. I'm gonna just be laying in a pool like a turd in the toilet and just floating along, enjoying myself. And with it's my buddy H. If you're listening, happy birthday, happy 50th birthday. I hope you enjoy the fake general painting that I posted today of you on social media. I took that out of the Bill Murray clip, but appreciate you guys tuning in. And other than that, I got nothing. So Pete, why don't you give your final words and then take us on out?
Happy birthday, H. Let me start with that. I know how much you mean to Kevin, so I had to pass that along. Hopefully you enjoyed the Redskins tickets I got for you guys last year. But thanks, everyone, for listening. Like Kevin said, your time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us and all of our hot takes and stupidity and everything else. But thank you very much. Hopefully everybody has a healthy, safe, and happy 4th of July holiday. Don't blow any fingers or digits off or toes or anything else off with the fireworks. Hopefully you get to spend time with family. And with that, I will turn it over to the true, what shall we call him, philosopher, wise man of the Tainted Glove, the one, the only, the Sox Math winner last week, our guy, Yeah Dog. Yeah Dog, take it away. And with that, aloha.